This is the Checkpoint Radio Podcast, a production of Westwood One.
This is Nate Bender, co-host of the national show Checkpoint Radio, inviting you to check out our new weekly podcast where we talk about esports and video gaming. Joining me is the Checkpoint Radio crew, Robbie Landis.
Moving that payload.
Norris Howard.
You already know who it is.
And Joe Sloan.
Psyched to be here.
So I want to talk about the growth of esports because this is something that has seen massive amounts of capital injection in the last couple of years and has exploded in popularity.
It's absolutely dope, man. I love being able to see a game that I loved growing up, like Street Fighter, get so much investment from a big company like Red Bull to have regional tournaments and provide revenue for some of these players. It's great.
Now, when you talk about the growth of esports, too, no matter what direction you look in, it's spreading like wildfire. The collegiate scene alone has increased the number of varsity teams that they have by almost triple in less than a year.
Yeah, and we've been on top of covering that, talking to people like AJ Dimmick of the University of Utah or Sean Burney of Saints Gaming, and really getting a deep explanation of how these collegiate programs have come to be.
Well, and it's happening now in all walks of life, too. You've got the League of Legends World Championships that just sold out the Staples Center. You've got Counter-Strike Global Offensive breaking Twitch's record for concurrent viewers. And you've got Friday night television on cable. You can turn on and watch Counter-Strike, or you can watch Street Fighter.
No matter where you look, the headlines continue to roll in. There is tons of money being spent and invested left and right.
So if you're interested in conversations like these, we'll invite you to join us for the Checkpoint Radio Podcast. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, or wherever you download your podcasts. Please, if you have a second, rate and review the show. Let us know how we're doing. And if you want more information on the podcast or our national radio show, head on over to checkpointradio.com.
This episode of Limit Break Radio is made possible by our generous Patreon donors, including Maruli Epican of Gilgamesh, Crimson Light Farron on Hyperion, Justin Stormstrider from Sargentanis. Thank you so much for your support. If you want to support Limit Break Radio, visit patreon.com/Limit Break Radio. Introducing Eorzea's latest and greatest graphic novel, Go Go Posing Rangers Volume 1. Join Posing Ranger Black, Posing Ranger Yellow, and Posing Ranger Red through their epic origin story in this first edition series of comic books. Learn how Posing Ranger Red formed their mighty morphing team and brought evil to under Justice's boot. Run to your local bookstore and be the first to obtain the Posing Ranger Premium Power Play Edition, complete with keychain and scratch and sniff sticker set. Go Go Posing Rangers Volume 1, brought to you by Wonder AC Comics. With great posing comes great insatiability.
Live from Eorzea. Limit Break with your hosts, Aniero.
Now behold the horror you have wrought.
Kahlo.
I said don't take your clothes off.
Juxtaposition.
I don't get it.
Ascalia.
Holy shit, totally forgot about him.
And Mika.
Oh my god.
LimitBreakRadio.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Limit Break Radio, episode 113. Thanks, guys, for checking out the show. LimitBreakRadio.com is the web address. You can subscribe to the podcast over there or through iTunes or Google Play or Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts. Hit the follow button if it's your first time joining us. We appreciate having you along on this Sunday. If you're listening on the podcast, we do the show each and every single Sunday live here at twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio starting at 4 p.m. Let's kick it on over to our Eorzean studios. We've got one. This guy has been this is like the second episode.
You know what? I actually wanted to commend him today because as I'm watching this, I feel like are there multiple versions of him?
I don't know.
Because every time the screen shifts, it's him but he's somewhere else
but it's
doing something different.
Yeah. I mean, you know, we did challenge our listener base to troll us.
It's dedication.
Like in more unique ways. It's pretty impressive, I gotta say. It takes a lot of
It's a lot of effort.
Yeah, like to sit there for 3 hours and just do the same emote over and over and over again.
Or going to different people and doing different emotes.
I mean, I think this guy has to probably get off on the fact that, like, there are YouTube comments about, like, how can someone sit there and do the same emote for 3 hours? Nice job.
I'm almost proud.
Someone in the audience noticed you. Good job. Anyway. Senpai noticed you. Thanks for joining us here at Limit Break Radio. Lots to talk about today. We have traded an Escalia on Final Encounter Cast, and we've picked up a Nika. What's up, Nika?
We got the bad end of that deal.
Yeah, we did.
Nika,
I disagree.
Nika's not feeling well today, so
that's good.
I would actually like to point out, I'm happy, Nika, and I really have to give you props. Normally, when you have a baby, you're gone the entire day, but she's become so accustomed to it, she managed to make it here for Limit Break Radio.
I'm just logged in the hospital on my laptop's on my stomach.
Yeah, exactly. See, this is the dedication that you get from the Limit Break Radio staff, and now. Escalia is off having his own baby. Her own baby. I don't know. Cool. How does that work?
Its own baby?
Yeah, I don't know how that works.
Zimzer.
Let's not think about it too much.
Hold on. I like the idea that...
Boob for Skuro.
God damn it. No.
What?
Thank you for the $80.08, but no. We're going to put that towards something else. I like the idea, though, that Escalia probably reproduces asexually.
Like a uterus for Escalia.
What?
I don't know.
What?
Anyway.
He's at home growing a baby in a tube.
It's an IV bag.
You still get maternity leave for that, right?
I guess. You know what? We're a progressive company. Yes, absolutely.
1 day maternity leave.
We're going to give him her the same amount of maternity leave that we give Nika.
Thank you.
How much is that? I don't remember.
A whole day.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. We're generous here.
Yeah.
We damn. Anyway, thanks for joining us. Also joining us today, apparently because...
Skuro Boob Fun.
No.
What are you doing?
Fun.
Not okay.
Skura boob fun.
Because
Skura boob fun. Skura boob fun.
What are you doing?
I'm just repeating what he said.
He's
trying to be really cool.
He's trying to start a chant.
Anyway.
I'm chanting with the bit guy.
Look, I guess the exchange rate on Escalia's is a little bit different because we didn't just get a Nika, we've also got a Papa Woody joining us today.
What is going on?
I know.
Wow.
Man.
Crazy.
Now, Pops, since you're here, I want to ask you something, right? You know that we do the whole postcard from Eorzea thing, right?
Yes.
You're being featured on the next one, and I give you a sneak peek.
Yeah.
What do you think? Should people be hyped for this one?
They should, and you will know what I've been doing this whole time.
That's right.
So-
It's a big one.
Have you been having a baby too?
Yes, that is the big surprise.
He's been putting babies in
for
people.
everyone.
Except he's so old that it takes him longer to push out the baby.
Right.
So
it does.
Makes sense.
It hurts my hips. I might
You
break
just gave
it.
him more maternity leave than me. I see how it is.
Well, he's a man. Of course he does.
Yeah.
It's not equal pay day, all right?
Anyway, so thanks for joining us here. We appreciate having you along. If you want to call the show, Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord if you want to chime in on Discord. Lots to react to here. A lot of announcements coming along with Live Letter 35. And man, I have to be honest with you guys. I have been a bit beside myself since the live letter. I have been what's a diplomatic way to put this? I've been a very unhappy. Why would you? God,
Skuro Boob Fun.
Stop
Skura
that.
boob fun. Skura boob fun.
Why?
I like how the amounts are getting smaller.
Yeah.
Like the first guy's like 80.
$80.
Cold ass honk. He's like, you can have a five. Frozen Chaos is like, I got $1.
Those are really shitty boobs. Just saying. Anyway,
He's already got boobs. They're not pretty, but he has them.
yeah, you're right.
That's why it's only worth 100.
Anyway, so look, this live letter. Man, this one was a tough one for me. I'm going to be honest with you. This one was a tough one for me.
It was a roller coaster of happiness and depression.
I think that's a good way to put it, because there were some things that I've heard, and I did, started to get hype and excited about some stuff, but then there were other things that kind of really undercut all of it for me, and it's just like I don't know how to feel now.
Yeah, and so here's the thing: is normally when we take your calls, you're really kind of responding to whatever we're saying on the show, wherever the discussion is going on the show, and I mean, like, I feel like I'm not going to have that much to offer for this, right? Like I'm pretty disenchanted, and I sort of feel like we need to ask for calls to, like, like help me figure out why, like why should I keep giving a shit about this game when it feels like Square-Enix doesn't? Like, you know what I mean? I'm frustrated. I'm not even speaking as like Aniero or like this guy who does a podcast. I'm just talking like from a 1.0 player's perspective. Like, it is exasperating and frustrating at this point. And so,
but 1.0 was exasperating, frustrating in itself, and
for entirely different reasons. But
tell you what, I logged in more on 1.0 than I have so far.
But I mean, like, and look, we'll get into all of this, but we've said for a long time on this show that that we're at a point in the content cycle where the emphasis, I think, needs to be on your existing player base, right? Like, the people who have been there the longest and the people who are supporting you through these times that are lean, and I feel like Square-Enix is... And just, I guess, to set the stage for the discussion, my feeling on it is that Square-Enix is making probably a smart business decision, and even then I challenge that. I don't even think that it's a smart business decision, but what they see as the business decision that they'll see the most return on, and I think, like, I'm getting tired of these kinds of calls from game developers, the safe decisions, the one that tries to make the community more inclusive, and it's just like
that appeases the vocal minority.
Yeah, you can't. I don't think you can do that and still maintain a long-term subscriber base. Like, you're not going to end up retaining the people who have been here the longest because they receive the smallest reward for it. And I think that this is just Stormblood now is kind of emblematic of that whole philosophy, that whole design philosophy that I think AAA gaming is. I've gotten this design philosophy out of AAA gaming, and I'm just tired of it.
All right,
I'm just so tired of it.
I maybe have a little bit of hope, because there have been previous shows where we've asked people who are excited to call in and tell us why they're excited, why they're hyped, and on those episodes, we mostly got a lot of people who agreed with us, right?
Right.
Well, looking through the chat here now, it looks like a lot of people are actually kind of like hyped up and stuff.
That's
like
fine.
This.
That's great.
So
Share. Look,
that's
what I want to encourage. This is what I want to encourage. I want for the people who are hyped, because I know that, like, sometimes the most hyped people may shy away from some of the cynicism that we put out here on the show, and I kind of get that. I understand that, but I really want to encourage you to call in today, because I want you to try to get me to buy into the hype. Like, I want
call
you to
with your infectious hype.
Right. Like, that's what I need. I need someone to hype me up about this shit, because I'm not feeling it, and I'm frustrated that I'm not feeling it, and I don't know if it's just a greater, like I said, a greater game design philosophy that
is conflicting.
we've parted ways on, or what it is. But I mean, I'm just, as a fan, man, I'm frustrated by some very specific decisions going on here, and so I really want to encourage as many people as we can take on the show to call in. Now, again, I know we had 4 people holding on the line before we even started the show. I want to get to all 4 of you. If we move through you fairly quickly, don't be offended. It's just because we may have more people that want to get on the show. So we want to talk about all of the notes from the live letter, which it was a 4-hour long live letter, so there's a lot of notes to go over, but we also want to make sure that we're getting your responses too. So I know we yelled at people on the last episode, like, if you call in, like, be prepared to hold, and still be prepared to hold, but in the interest of moving through this a little bit quicker, we might cycle through some calls a little bit faster than normal, so just be prepared for that. And again, if you want to call the show, Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810 515-8715. LimitBreakRadio.com/Discord. If you want to call in through Discord, you can also hang out in Discord, join our growing Discord community. There's like a whole bunch of people in there. If you want to hang out with other Limit Break Radio fans, that's a good way to do it. All right, let's check out what's going on in FF14 news.
This is a Limit Breaking News Update.
All right, the FF14 team is encouraging adventurers to participate in a 14-day screenshot contest, but this sounds more of a challenge. Each day has a specific theme to follow, such as your favorite place to fly a mount, your favorite NPC, minion, mount, furnishing, etc. The challenge begins on June 1st, and the place to share your screenshots is the official Final Fantasy XIV Twitter account.
God,
the official announcement makes no mention of a prize, which is weird since they call it a contest.
Yeah. And also, like, does this just sort of seem like they've taken the concept behind, like the fucking Vista logs or whatever they are, and just put let's just make that a contest.
They're not even like creative things. Like, it's literally your favorite piece of furniture, your favorite NPC. Like, what? Come on.
You know what? We should send one in for favorite piece of furniture, and obviously send Stage D.
Oh my God! I thought you were gonna say the butt plug that Skuro has in his closet.
Oh yeah, that too.
Okay,
That's kind of silly, though.
Really.
You'd think they would at least be like, okay, something in the game that makes you filled with hope, or something that makes you feel peaceful, and you'd have to be creative about it.
Even that would have been better than this. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I agree.
what I'm saying.
I agree.
It's a little lazy.
Yeah. The annual Make It Rain campaign is back. It starts on the 29th, which, if you're listening on the podcast, was yesterday. Prizes include a new hairstyle, a Gentleman Sabatender minion, and 3 new Triple Triad cards.
Okay.
Yay.
As long as it has like double or 1.5 times MGP like last year, I'm good. Whatever.
Very likely.
I mean, yeah.
It's not a minion, it's a tabletop furnishing.
That's even worse.
What?
Why would
Wait,
you want a
tabletop
tabletop
furnishing
furnishing?
To put on your table.
I'd rather have a minion.
Well, you're not getting a minion. You're getting a tabletop furnishing.
No, I'm not. I
which
refuse it.
I'm putting into
refuse it.
studio.
I refuse it.
There's gonna be 50 of them. It's gonna be great.
Good luck getting 50 of those.
It's going to be the best tabletop furnishing.
Yeah. You know what? I challenge you to actually put 50 of those in the studio.
Okay, I'll do that in about 4 weeks.
Okay.
Great.
Our studio size is double.
Yeah,
so that'd be easy.
Thanks. You just ruined the studio, asshole.
Yeah, because the dick stage didn't already do that.
Whoa! Dick stage?
It's a dick! Okay?
Wow,
It is a giant
perverted.
penis splooging all over the floor. People lay in that.
Wow, that is very, very uncalled for and very lewd and very perverted. Thank you very much.
Fuck you.
You made it.
I know. It's a perfectly wonderful stage.
It's a dick.
It's not a
It's a
dick.
dick.
I don't see how you can possibly think that it's a dick.
It has balls and everything.
No, that's just the spot where the dancers
It
dance.
has
Do you still have
balls and jizz. Like,
Do you still have ferns to represent the fucking pubes? Yeah.
he's
that's what I
joking.
thought.
That's a yes. That's a yes. He sure
Choke
does.
in guilt.
Yeah.
It's not.
No,
it adds
stop.
life to the stage. Okay?
Stop.
They're living plants.
Stop.
Can't believe we go over this every single week.
Anyway. All right. I think is that it?
That's it. That's all this time, yeah.
That's all the news.
Yep. All the news.
All right, so we're done with the show. Bye, guys. We're wrapping it up.
There's nothing else, guys.
Yeah, there's nothing else. FF14. There's just nothing to talk about, right?
Thanks for the donations. Bye, assholes.
All right, so we've got to talk about the live letter. Live letter number 35. It took me like 6 days to actually sit down and watch this after I got the sort of Cliff Notes version. God, I am so disappointed by this. I'm so disappointed by some of these decisions.
Not to mention, Dark Knight didn't really see a whole lot of big changes, did it?
I saw.
We don't know anything about what these job gauges are going to be. I think it's going to change every job 100%.
Nika. Okay, Nika.
Okay, not 100%. Maybe.
Wow.
Would you like to place a bet on this?
I watched every single, the video of every single job in the job gauge, and, it's different for every single job.
They're
so at least
also
part of the job's going to feel
optional.
different.
What?
I've been told that you don't have to have them displayed. No. Yeah.
Right, but if you don't, then you won't know your gauge, and you will just be a gimp and a horrible player. So why would you ever choose to not display it?
It will be displayed in a different way, is all.
Yeah.
I'm sure the tanks will probably be changed the most with their like little gauge of like points or whatever, but Ninja's not changing much. You just have a gauge that fills up and then you use an attack or something.
Yeah.
All right.
Monk isn't changing at all. It's just getting you just see their cooldown.
It's just a different way to be able to access shit.
It's
I don't know.
That's really what it is.
Different to me.
All right.
Every single job looked different.
Let's start off with some of the battle system changes that were outlined early in the live letter. They said that one of the things that they had identified about the system is that it was overly complex, which I mean, I guess I could,
especially depending on the job. Remember when Dragoon had to do what was it like 47 buttons or something?
Like that,
yeah.
I'd call that overly complex.
To be able to perform ideal DPS, sure, yeah. Too many actions and not enough hotbar space.
Okay.
That's very fair.
Or you can just stop playing on console and then you'll be fine.
Oh. Well, no, because even on console it was getting, or I'm sorry, even on PC it was starting to get obscene.
Yeah, like 4 bars of 10 abilities each.
But when half of those are pets and mounts.
Well, we talked we talked about the problem that is ability blue.
Yes.
So that is a legit problem that they did have to try to address in some form.
So don't worry, White Mages, you're losing all your abilities.
And they also said that
White Mage gets lilies.
There was an overemphasis on status icon management, which is true.
Absolutely. That was definitely a big problem. I actually play with other people's status effects turned off so that I can only see mine because it was too many.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Okay.
Oh, really? Really?
Okay,
This next
hang
one.
on.
For real?
This is going to be one of the pillars of the bone that I have to pick with Square-Enix here.
Something we've been saying for a long time.
And if you caught on to a couple of things, there were a couple of things, like a couple of refrains in the live letter that really got underneath my skin. The first one is a mild complaint, I will grant you, and that is stop fucking apologizing to everyone in Japan.
You never apologized to us.
And obsessing over how many fucking Nico viewers are watching. Like, that was obnoxious.
My law loves you guys so much. Been a fan for 6 months strong.
We can see that.
That's the guy. That's
yeah. Thank you, Neo.
Doing disparaging things.
That's
to
fine.
Everyone.
We let you abuse us like this, and we're only worth $2, man. Thanks.
We giggle at it. It's fun. It's actually, when you go back and watch it on YouTube, it's actually kind of pretty funny. Anyway, so that's the first thing is fucking stop apologizing to.
Why were they apologizing?
Because it was so late. Because it was so late at night for their Japan viewers.
But we've had so many late at night for ours.
Right?
Well, they apologized to us multiple times as what?
Hi.
I'm not trying to present a conspiracy or anything here. That comes a little bit later, okay? But I'm just saying, like, I noticed that, and it got fucking irritating because it was like I'd be like, oh, well, how many people are watching on Twitch? Because like I said, I watched it later, and I would think that they would go between Nico and Twitch and see all of the different places that they were originating the stream and see how many people were watching. No, they were just really obsessed with Nico.
Well,
they were
it makes
really,
sense because
really,
they're a Japanese company, and they're based in Japan, and Japan.
As we know from the last episode, that clearly
Japan.
Anyway, so that was the first thing. Mild nitpick. That's just me, okay? And clearly, no one else really noticed it. So maybe that was just me.
Don't be shitty.
Being shitty, okay?
Don't be.
I'll admit it. All right. Here was the other thing that they kept talking about, and every time that they brought it up, it would drive me fucking crazy. And they would talk about the.
Japan.
I thought there was going to be more. Thanks, Taco. So the other thing that they kept talking about was the disparity between your long-term player base and new players or casual players. One of those two words.
Wait, does a disparity between them exist?
Yes. I mean, if you have been playing this game for, 3 years, like, of course there's going to be a disparity between you and someone who just bought it last week because they saw, oh my God, Ninja, or oh my God, Samurai.
What a new revelation. I never thought of that.
You know what I mean? Okay, so they're talking about that gap, that skill gap they need to
bridge.
Yeah. And they don't. I'm just saying that you don't. You're making the choice to, and it's a bad choice. And I think that it really shits on your long-term players. But they kept talking about this disparity of between long-term players and players just coming into the game. And the thing is I don't understand why. Like, that is a natural disparity that is supposed to exist in an MMO environment. It's supposed to be there. Mm-hmm. That's one of the core tenets, I think, of an MMO. And giving people a skip option is really like to say, well, we just want to lessen the gap. Well, okay, sure.
They just want more people to be able to do everything.
Exactly. Yeah. And the problem is that it's this short-term fucking thinking.
Look, if they get everybody from the casual new player to the other side where they're long-term, like hardcore players.
Who are you trying to bring into FF14 at this point?
If they do that, they don't have to cater to them anymore. They can start focusing on their other new players.
What is your disenfranchised player base that you're trying to bring into FF14 by giving them a skip button? Is there one? If there's not one, if you can't pinpoint that, then I don't think you can justify this decision.
See, here's how I see it. You have a whole bunch of casual players, and you have not a whole bunch, but some hardcore players. When these casual players try that hardcore shit, they're going to give up because there's no middle content to bridge the two. So why can't they just focus, instead of bringing in new players and putting in stupid shit, focus on the middle ground?
But the thing is that they're bringing in new players and not giving them a middle ground. They're just saying, hey, go do the same shit that everyone else is doing.
Yeah, and they're going to give up, and the gap is still going to be there.
Well, no, you have a shorter. I think you just have a higher player churn, because then you have people who aren't really invested, and those are the people who feel catered to. Why would you cater to people who are not invested in your game right now? Why? Who are you bringing in greater numbers than the people who have been here for 3-4 years at this point? Honestly,
you're not.
That's the thing. But they have to think that they are, or that they do have that ability or that opportunity. I mean, they have to think that.
They might move a couple thousand units, bring in new people, but
yeah, at the start of an expansion, maybe. Yeah. But what about through the rest of it? Because they're still going to continue to do it.
Dude, I'm going to predict that we're going to see some sort of Lords of Verminion bullshit, casual horse fuckery right out of the gate, like 4.1.
Ouch. Blitzball.
Dude, Blitzball is somewhat justifiable, but it's going to be something bad. I mean, it's going to be something fucking. Oh my God. I'm so frustrated. I don't understand who they think is going to pay their bills moving forward. Who is going to float the cost for this? Is it going to be their cash shop? Because this is
always.
These are the kinds of decisions that you make when you take the fucking game free to play. That's where this goes. That's where this goes. I mean, that's pretty grim in terms of a prediction, but that's where this fucking leads. Anyway, all right. So you're going to notice that refrain referenced again and again and again, that they want to try to bridge the gap between long-term players and players just coming into the game, because players just coming into the game, that's who Square-Enix values. That's the valuable player to them.
New people.
Not the people who have spent over $500, $600 in monthly costs total in their, the entire time that they've been subscribed to this game. That's not who they're making their money off of. They want to get your casual WWE fan in the door. Fucking call the show and prove me wrong. Call the show and prove me wrong, please. Please. And the thing is, fucking people think that I'm driven by this need to be right all the time. I'm desperate to be wrong here. Please, tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me why that assessment of the way Square Enix looks at its own audience is wrong or is incorrect. Please. Anyway, all right. There's a lack of synergy between jobs. It cites the warrior ninja synergy and comments that monks had a lack of synergy, that they focused on simply just buffing up their numbers as much as possible, where a warrior and a ninja would complement each other in the party construction, and they're working on increased synergy between the jobs,
which is always great.
That's good. I think that's something
definitely needed.
Yes.
So they're getting rid of it.
They're
getting rid of the
adding new
lack
moves to make different jobs workable
Yes.
with other jobs.
Yeah, they're getting rid of the lack of synergy. Now, the thing is that I see this as just making the jobs, the jobs within the role that they're put inside more boxed into that role. And we'll get to that with some of the cross-roll skills when we talk about that here in a second. So we've got additional actions that are coming. Abolishing additional actions. Sites provoke issues for tanks where you would have to level up a gladiator to get access to provoke. Adding role actions in place of existing cross-class skills. These will be categorized by tank, healer, melee, DPS, range DPS, and caster. This was pretty obvious that this was coming.
Yeah.
This is one of the things I was happy to see.
Yeah, no, this is good. I think this is a good change.
What I predicted was 5, maybe 6 role class abilities or role based abilities, and then you'd be able to slot in 5 of them and having no choice whatsoever. It looks like each section has 10 abilities, and they're all actually pretty worthwhile. So there's actually a choice here.
See, I see some of the development philosophy behind this, and I kind of understand it. Where now you have, in terms of abilities, less of a difference between jobs inside of a given role, right? Like inside their given role bracket, like tank, DPS, ranged DPS,
Yeah, like how
whatever.
some would get more DPS buffers than others, and it just felt kind of unbalanced.
Right, and so you had differences between the way that their skills operated or their skills were arranged, and I think that you're going to see that smooth out, and the way that the difference between the jobs is going to be accentuated is going to be through these new UI elements for each one of the roles. Like that, we've replaced the uniqueness of each one of these jobs, what little there was, and the necessity to have to level anything outside of the one class that you're interested in, and we've now actually given you just the differences in the graphics, that you see, and the way that those job meters operate. That is going to be the way that jobs end up feeling different. They're going to operate largely the same mechanically, but they're going to feel more unique and more and differently with these job gauges.
Which overall, I think that I'm probably okay with. When it came to being, for example, a DPS, obviously they all operate this. They're meant to do the same thing. Deal damage, right? So when it comes down to it, as a player, I think that's what I would want. Which job feels like mine? Which one feels more like a monk? Which feels more like a ninja? And I think that's where the uniqueness should come down to it. Not, for example, no, we don't want a ninja because we don't need you. We need, this other job because we have to have this one particular buff that they have.
Right. Caster role actions. They showed an infographic for caster role actions. There are 4 new unknown actions. Apocastasis, Swift Cast, Eye for an Eye, Surecast are all cross roll. Mana Shift is something that gives 20% of NP to another party member.
The mage equivalent of goad.
Erase
refresh
is pretty obvious. It erases.
Like casters have never had that kind of thing before.
Raging Strikes is no longer a casting skill. Quelling Strikes has been removed. Diversion, a new caster skill to replace Quelling Strikes. And if you lost a key skill, it will likely be replaced by an existing role action. So I think the thing that's unknown is, what are the big skills? Because we know things like Blood for Blood, are not going to have much of a, role moving forward. So the question is how much of that has been rolled into these job actions? And, again, I think that's where you're going to start to see all of your uniqueness of the job start to shine.
I would like to ask something from our viewership and from the player base of Final Fantasy XIV at large. damage. As you all know, Goad is not one of those cross-class skills.
Yep, everyone gets Goad.
Everyone gets Goad now. So I implore you, when your fellow party members are low on TP and they call for Goad, if you have it equipped, you do the right thing and you throw that
on the
TP
healer.
in your white mage's face.
All over their face.
All over their face.
And there's also hotbar existing actions that have been removed. They'll be grayed out, so you know to remove them from your hotbar. You will need to redo your hotbars on EA launch, though.
Nope. Okay, see this? I'm going to tell everybody a super awesome secret. Keep those grayed out icons on your hotbar because you'll never be able to get them back. You want to
I was like thinking that for a hot second. I'm like, wait, why would I do that? No, I'm the kind of person, I still have some of those stupid tokens from 1.0.
Oh my god, he's
if I got rid of them, I'd never get them back.
Aniero is face palming you all.
Why
Obviously
legacy
with the moves,
actions?
Obviously not.
Why?
I have, those tokens at 1.0, like you couldn't do
Dear
Garuda
God.
until you farmed the
Kupo nuts.
feathers,
See?
the Kupo
Yeah.
nuts. I still have those because I can never get them back.
See, those are
Why?
irreplaceable.
I don't ever, Nika, you can never complain about inventory space ever again. Never again. I will never take your complaint serious. I'll go, have you thrown out the Kupo nuts yet? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Aniero,
Why?
this is your problem. You were taking anything she said seriously to begin with.
I'm just saying.
She is a woman. Don't you listen to her.
Called it.
God, you're awful.
And also a teacher.
I just...
It gives me more reason to listen to me.
Okay, hold on.
Did you hear yourself about 15 seconds ago? You just said you're keeping Kupo nuts from 1.0. That's an inventory slot. They're changing the inventory so that you can continue to keep your fucking Kupo nuts.
It's not even the Kupo nut. The Kupo nut icon on the bar.
Nika, you're a Kupo
No,
nut.
I'm not going to keep the shit on the bar, obviously, but in my inventory, I don't know. I'll get it back.
I have a couple of things rattling around from 1.0. I don't know why. I think I have.
But he's not holding on to it for sentimental stake. He's just too lazy to throw it away.
That is
if he
that.
saw
You know
it,
what?
he'd be like, "What the fuck?" Toss.
That's the. I'm like Inferno Totem. What the fuck is that? And I just go, I don't really care enough to find out, and then I just move on with my life. That's the truth of it. Anyway, so let's go to our phone lines. We've got calls piling up left and right, and talk to Zidane Tribali of Exodus. What's up, Zidane?
Hey, I want to preface this by stating I'm at work and extremely high, so this will probably be a disaster if I want to call you guys away.
Oh my god.
Where do you work?
Please don't say like
Pizza.
a bus station. You know, like you like.
I work at
Air traffic control.
Yeah, right.
no, just on an airplane.
Oh, good.
No, I work at a studio, but
Oh, cool.
first off, I want to thank
do
you
we.
guys for the show.
Thank you.
You're
It's
welcome.
extremely important to voice, constructive criticism so the developers don't get complacent or, too full of themselves. I think these podcasts are extremely essential to the community. So,
And
thanks for that.
Well, we appreciate that, and I think something that is also kind of important to note is that, especially with recently, with incidents like World of Tanks and Atlas, what Nintendo does on YouTube to be able to silence their critics, I do have to commend Square-Enix on they've never interfered with a single conversation that we've wanted to have. I don't think we've ever gotten any kind of takedown request or C&D order from Square-Enix.
Thank you for not being Nazis, Square Enix.
They if nothing else, I think Square Enix does see the value in open discussion like this, and that it's critical for players to be able to have a space to talk to one another in a way that doesn't feel like like there's one party that's defending Square Enix or shilling like this. I think these conversations are more honest because we are all just players of this game, and Square Enix has no buy-in here. They have no they have no influence beyond what they can do in the game, and our opinions are going to just be our opinions. And I think that that's something that also should be commended, is that Square Enix allows us to do what we do, and in this day and age, that that can't be ignored.
Yeah, well said.
Okay, so what about Stormblood you want to talk about?
Yeah, so, we are just the complete opposite, about our hype. I'm completely excited, as I've been playing since 1.0. I play almost every day still, and I want to kind of find what's the disparity between your and I's and most of the cast. What's keeping us all. I'm still hesitant. I don't want to. Heaven's Word burned us all pretty damn bad, but
you want to try and figure out. You want to try and figure out why we feel the way we do when you're still logging on every day and playing and have hope?
Yeah, and I have a couple ideas.
Okay.
I noticed, like, a lot of you guys, like, I know Aniero only plays, like, one class primarily, Dark Knight.
Mm-hmm.
I personally, like, when I was only playing one class, that was when I was enjoying the game the least amount. I found, like, playing the difference between DPS healer and tank makes dungeons that are kind of boring. You get these different perspectives that kind of keep you engaged. And also, just the job trailer. Dark Knight seemed to be, and Samurai were like the least interesting of the trailer.
I agree.
So,
I totally agree.
Understandably, though.
I only saw. I think I only saw one new ability for Dark. No, maybe two. Like one defensive ability, and then that big offensive smash when the meter was full. That's it. That's all I saw.
Yeah, it was pretty boring. I was very disappointed as well with it. But, I play Summoner and Ninja and all these other classes too, so I got to get on the hype train with all the Summoners going fucking crazy about Bomb.
Yeah, and, oh my God, I'm sure that we're going to get calls on that too.
Yeah, Summoners finally being Summoners. But anyway, just to get back to the name, there's a lot of, you guys are also... MMO veterans, I've noticed, also kind of have this this diminishing returns with the MMO genre. We're less likely to take in things being the more, Final Fantasy XIV is like doing the things that the MMO genre has been doing for years, and they're doing it well. But if you already are, you can get bored of that easier when you've been playing it, obviously, longer.
Well, and I think also too, like if you're going to just make the same decisions that WoW made, just 10 years later, that, like, why should I care? Like, that's the thing that totally. I think that's the thing I think I'm most bothered by is that, this wasn't a firebrand decision. This wasn't something that, it was anything but trying to be the most safe, calculated business decision that it possibly could, and
right.
Fine. That is. If that's what Square Enix wants to do, then that's what clearly they're going to do. But I think that what we have recognized and what we have stated again and again is that I think that there's a shift. Like there's been a shift in gaming. If you look at things like the Souls games and how much, that kind of philosophy has taken root among gamers who, now that they have been presented with that type of content, have really latched onto it. That you're starting to see a variety of opinions about what constitutes the way forward, and making the same safe decisions and retreading the same fucking area that every other MMO has, just because WoW did it, or just because it gets you, maybe the shortest, the biggest, shortest gains. Then what? Fine. It just, as a long-term player, as someone who's been invested, like. It's the third version of it's the third go round on this, man. Fuck.
I had a revelation the other day when I was streaming that I think I really like hit the head on why 14 is letting me down right now. Right? Let's say that you're watching any other MMO, EVE Online, right? There's a sense of what is going to happen. Even if they're just out mining ore, someone could show up and gank them. They could get into some type of fight somewhere. Like, there's a certain air of what is going to happen.
Right.
If you look at World of Warcraft, you never know when, another player might show up and start PvPing you. When some type of rare spawn might pop or something. There's always something that could deviate what's going to happen. But if you're watching 5 different people all doing dungeons, they're all doing, besides the personality that you're watching, the exact same thing is going to happen. Even if you were to go to a raid setting, the only difference between them is at which point might they wipe, but then once they get past it, it's all the exact same outcomes. Every time you log on to do a certain event, every time you do Extreme Primals, you're doing the same thing that you did last time you did the Extreme Primals. There is no variance in your gameplay, and we've already gotten 2 expansions of that, and there is no evidence so far that this next expansion is going to be any different except for the location and the fact that what we're fighting has new skins.
Right.
Other than that, it's all going to be a retread.
Right. And the thing is, like when I know we do a lot of comparisons between FF11 and FF14, and I think that's fairly fair, but one of the things that I think MMO developers may have forgotten is what you do when what exactly it does to the community when you make these kind of concessions, where you make things easier, where you give fast forward and skip buttons and undo reward where it's not really earned. And again, like that used to be a factor that was balanced out by the community, right? Like back in FF11, you used to have an environment where people would go out of their way at 75 to, power level people in the dunes for no reason other than they just had nothing better to do, right? Like FF11 was a world that set up its player base to overcome the world, right? And I don't see that here.
Boost potions don't really change anything except increase the player base. The bad players will remain bad, and boost potions are a necessity for the longevity of the game because it's an easier fix than reworking the story with limited manpower.
That's a fair point. Thanks for the donation. Sorry, caller. We had to. I don't know if you could hear that donation.
Yeah, I could hear.
Oh, okay. All right.
Oh, good.
Oh, good.
But Aniero, are you saying though that you would rather have a game that there's nothing to do, so you power level a random group? That is the most boring thing in the world.
No, but that's the thing. That's the thing is that when could you say that FF11 you had nothing to do? I mean, maybe you could, Nika. Maybe Nika, you could, because you experienced an entirely different end of that game than we did. Okay, but at no point did I go, man, there's nothing for me to do. There was always
that's
some
true.
shit.
You could always do assault.
Exactly. There was always something. There was always some way to be able to improve. I don't feel that with FF14, and I believe, and I this is just my honest assessment. I believe it's because the game doesn't ask it from me, because the game will just give it to me in time, and I know that, and as a player it makes me complacent, and that sucks. I don't want that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Zidane, thanks for the call, man. We're gonna have to move on. We've got tons of people who want to chime in on this, and way more notes to continue on through. So, who wants to pick up on cross roll skills and tell us about cross roll skills?
All right, we'll go ahead and take that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, so back to roll actions. We mentioned that you can have up to 5 roll actions, and with this, and I think it was either Juxta or Nika, maybe it was both of you, mentioned the idea that now you can start customizing what rolls you use based on your content. I mean, you could kind of technically already do that with what we had before, but I think now this makes it a lot easier.
But it wasn't as necessary.
Right.
Like, there is basically like your cross skills, and you use what you use. There's no variation to it. Like, they are good or they suck.
Yeah, and that's my thing. Like, now, obviously,
but it forced you out of your pattern of just leveling a single job.
That it did do,
yeah,
yes.
To force you to learn other portions of the game, which I think that's a pretty reasonable ask, considering, again, if you compare it to FF11, that was a quite a amount of an investment that you had to level a sub job, to the point where it became a really big pain in the ass for people.
Yep.
This is not that much of a pain in the ass. It's not a big ask.
No, well, in this case, it's not asking at all. It's really just a case of, okay, put different buttons on your bar. Now, Juxta, you mentioned that all of the abilities that they have actually seem worthwhile, which fills me with a bit of hope, because I was afraid that what would end up happening is kind of the same thing that happened with our cross-class rolls before. If you're a DPS, you just take all the ones that increase your DPS and you never change them.
Right.
It does actually then give us what each of the rolls are. So tank cross rolls, low blow. This move to cross roll from Dark Knight. All tanks have access to it. What does low blow do?
That's the stun. That's the
But it says that all
shield
tanks will
bash.
still have their native stun, so I don't understand how that makes any sense.
I
So
don't
like
know
we get
either.
shield bash and whatever.
Does
the
Dark
freaking
Knight
warrior
have
one
any other stuns?
Nope.
No, that was each one has their own stun, and Dark Knight's was low
So
blow.
everybody gets to keep theirs, but you have to share yours?
I'm
Well, no,
assuming
that's-
Dark
it's-
Knight will get another one.
No, it's even worse than that because now, in order to be as good as Nate or as Aniero was before, he has to put low blow in his cross class skill. So he's actually losing something to
Oh
have
my
what he had
gosh,
before.
so he doesn't
No,
even
but
have
it
it
says all
natively.
tanks will keep their native stun. So it sounds to me like this will be a stun on top of the other stuns, and Dark Knight will get a different one.
Or we
That
get
could be possible.
Or we get 2 low blows.
Okay, but Nika, look at White
That's
Mage.
stupid, by the way. I'm just saying, if that's the way that they're doing it, that's dumb.
We'll come back to that because White Mage completely disproves that, Nika.
Yeah, see, I don't know that they would give you 2 low blows, but maybe renaming your low blow, something Dark
Yeah, something
Knight-ish,
else.
and then you also get low blow. But yeah, that's
not,
weird.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah, they have 5 new tank cross roll skill icons. Let's see, confirmed cross rolls, provoke, convalescence, rampart. Reprisal looks to be the new vengeance, and they have an AOE provoke in enrage.
All right,
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, that does sound pretty cool. Let's go back to our phone lines and talk to Jamil Bowman of Cactar, who wants to talk about Paladin. What's up, Jamil?
Oh, hey, nothing much. Just really excited for the Paladin changes in 4.0.
Yeah, what are you most excited about for Paladin changes? As long as we're talking about tank cross roll abilities.
Oh, it has to leave you out the cross.
No, I'm just saying that's what we're talking about at the moment. But go ahead and what excites you about it?
Oh, well, I was looking at the translations on Reddit, and Paladin has the potential to do more than 6 spell cleaves.
Really?
That's already a pretty big deal. Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, that's nice anecdote, but I mean, like,
I was going to say,
what's that based on? I'm kind of curious. I mean, I know you said that it was translated from Reddit, so but what makes you think that Paladin is going to have such increased DPS?
Well, seeing how their new single target cast, the Holy Spirit, it does 430 potency and it's a 2-second cast and 2.5 recast. And in the live letter, Yoshi-P had enough MP to do 5 of those, but there's a way to do more DPS if you only do 4, and then Boring Blade with it. And I've come up with a rotation for that.
Now, are you saying that he had the MP to do 4 because you saw him cast it 4 times in a row, or are you saying that based off of because they did specifically note what the HP and MP was of the players that they were currently showing off on the live letter yesterday? So is that based off of the total MP pool, or did he just cast it a whole bunch?
That was based off of his MP. He had 740, and it cost 1,440.
Okay, and I mean, obviously, there's there may be some sponginess to that. The numbers aren't necessarily finalized. I was also going to make the point that during the live letter, they play with God mode on, so looking at how many times he was able to cast something or be able to do an action in a row may not be the most reliable source of
Take it with a
info.
grain of salt.
Yeah, take it with a grain of salt. And I mean, that's some pretty potent spell usage there. I'm sure that there's going to be some kind of trade-off, because it doesn't seem like it would be feasible to do that all the time, because then you would have ridiculous spike damage coming out of Paladin. But there is an ability here in what Square-Enix is doing to be able to balance the existing jobs to one another, like relative towards one another, and then concentrate on the way that the uniqueness of each job works through the things like job gauges. And I think that that's just, whether we like it as players is yet to be determined, but I can see why for the developers that would be a much easier route to go. So thanks for the call, Jamil. We appreciate it. If you want to call Limit Break Radio, line your calls up. Hopefully we'll be able to get to you. Limit Break Radio, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord if you want to call in. All right, let's continue talking about about some of these cross-roll abilities for other roles.
So some of the DPS cross rolls, obviously we mentioned Goad earlier. Second Wind will still be in there as well. And Bloodbath is confirmed as a cross roll skill as well.
Interesting. Especially because wasn't Bloodbath, that was a tank ability, right?
That was warrior.
That's definitely something that I don't ever remember.
That was a warrior ability.
Yeah.
But
constantly.
Yeah, but I always used it on Paladin anyway, so it's not like it was. Yeah, but definitely already a cross-class roll.
But now it's under the DPS.
That's what I'm saying.
Could use it.
Oh, could they?
Yeah.
Oh shit!
Is that the one where they like 25% of the damage you deal, you heal yourself or something?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
I couldn't
Had
name
access to that too.
Yeah, I couldn't name the DPS that had access to it, and I guess maybe Dragoon did.
Yep.
Okay, all right.
Bard cross rolls are saying that they get Second Wind. Swift Song is becoming a cross roll.
Yeah.
How do
So,
non-bards play a song?
Well, it's not going to be called Swift Song. It'll be called something else, but it's.
But that just means what Bard and Machinist both get to just use it.
It's also saying too that all DPS are getting some sort of stuns. What DPS don't have a type of stun right now?
Yeah, they do.
No, that's what I'm saying. Everybody does, don't they?
Yeah.
So that's not necessarily a new thing.
No.
Okay. Healer cross rolls, regen, protect, presence of mind.
Actually, you know what? There might be some DPSs that don't have stun and instead have like some
Silence.
other silence or a different form of
Actually,
interrupt.
I don't think
As
Bard
a
has
ninja,
stun.
I
Bard
have
has silence.
both. I have both as a
Bard
ninja,
doesn't have. Bard and Black Mage don't have stun.
You're right.
Bard, yeah.
Black Mage does not.
doesn't have stun?
No, none of the casters have any kind of stun.
Holy shit!
And Bard has silence though. I don't.
Bard has silence.
Does Black
Yeah, I
Mage
did
have
know that.
silence?
No, they have
I don't think it has anything.
Oh yeah, they have sleep.
And
Yeah, they have
slow.
sleep. But sleep
Which now we
heavy.
now we get diminishing returns on sleep, so that's great.
Good.
Presence of mind, eye for an eye, sure cast, swift cast, and then
regen
again. It says at the top that the regen is so.
I guess.
Okay, so here's the problem: is that a whole bunch of white mage abilities are getting moved to the roll abilities.
Yeah.
Which means in order to have white mage be able to use those abilities, they have to use up their slots.
Right.
Which sucks for being a white mage.
Right.
Because white mage is going to have its own inherent abilities, and that way isn't going to use the whole purpose of this is to eliminate overcrowding of your hotbars.
Yeah, so you don't think that they're going to replace what you're losing to cross class with anything new?
No. Why would I think
but
that?
I also think that other classes are losing stuff that's equal to that, so that way everyone has less stuff.
Well, remember, one of the things that they mentioned was one of the reasons behind reducing the ability bloat is because they knew going into Stormblood with, a whole other 10 levels and more abilities, it's just going to be getting worse and worse and worse.
Right. I mean, as long as they keep adding levels, as long as the level cap keeps going up, they're going to keep having this problem.
Okay, all jokes.
I'm just
all
saying,
jokes aside,
compared to Astrologian and Scholar, white mage is losing everything, and they're losing nothing.
No. All jokes aside, Juxta, you as an individual outside of the show are a pretty intelligent person. Okay, so I know, savor it, but I don't think that you're so smart that you're more clever than the developers are. So if you can look at white mage and be like, holy crap, I'm losing all these things that I then have to put back on as cross-class skills, therefore, eliminating the other cross-class skills that I could potentially have access to, you don't think the developers also would have been like, wait a minute, isn't white mage kind of getting screwed on this deal?
Do you think they would care?
Yeah.
Yes, because the whole idea behind
at this point,
behind redoing the battle system and the cross class thing is to put everybody on more of an even ground to make it easier to balance.
Right. Yeah, they're rounding off the unique edges of each one of the jobs inside. Again, you got to think of it inside of the role bracket. Comparative to the other roles that are inside that role bracket, they are going to be more same. Like in terms mathematically, in terms of potency, right? The
conclusion of each job will be the same, but how they operate is different.
Right, like how it is right now. Right, you have analog abilities among jobs that have a slight twist to them to make them unique to that job. That's going away. Then we get role abilities where it's just unified for everyone in that bracket. So for range DPS, it's unified for them. For melee DPS, it's a unified bracket. And so now the difference between the way that a job will play comes down to the unique HUD that they've built. The question then becomes, because we do know, Square Enix has said this quite explicitly, that some of the abilities that you would expect to be in your job's toolkit are now reserved for when you have filled that job meter, for when you have filled that gauge. And the question is, what is it that is being locked behind that gauge filling that is going to be critical to the way that your job plays? And that is going to determine the difference between the way a job feels when you play it, right? So it's mathematically almost identical between the three tanks, and then the difference is going to be in the job job gauge.
Right. But that's also placing a lot of faith that Square Enix is able to balance it for everybody, and given their past experience with the healers, that's
they're not balancing it against anything else except the other jobs that already exist. They're making them more the same.
Think of it like this. Remember how we used to argue White Mage operates like, big, fast heals. Scholar is all about the heals over time type deal, or letting your
Okay,
I
for
don't know
starters,
healers.
just stop.
I don't know healers.
Because you're so wrong.
But you get the idea that I'm saying.
Right.
Okay, now that's not how it is. All healers at the end will operate the same, but the way that you're playing them is what's different.
Right.
So, as a white mage, I'll be able to heal as fast as an astrologian?
Right. You can't actually assess whether a job has taken a hit to its performance until we understand fully how the job gauges work.
Yeah, we're just hype, just
at the moment, the only information we have is white mage has lost all this stuff, and it's all role-based stuff. Scholar and astrologian, we don't know if he lost anything or if they gained anything. We don't know. So all we know is that regen, is that even a thing?
Okay,
regen,
so
protect, like all this stuff.
So you're overreacting, is what you're saying.
Look, it says right here in the notes, don't freak out, okay, healers?
And let's freak out about how we're losing cleric stance, because a 5% increase, I understand that numbers don't mean anything right now, but they're basically gutting cleric stance.
But, and this is what comes next, your damage is now also being determined by mind, which you have a whole lot more of than int.
Right.
No, because cleric stance swapped them, so basically we used mine before, which had to use cleric stance. And basically my huge problem with cleric stance getting basically removed from the game is that it's making the game easier for everyone involved.
Yes.
Well, yeah, now the casuals have no reason to not DPS.
Right. But that's happening
they
across...
They can play their role correctly now.
That's happening...
They're not going to. If they didn't actually try to be good at being a healer and use cleric stance properly before, there's zero way they're going to do it now when it's easier.
And now, since cleric stance is it increases spell potency for a short amount of time, it's a cooldown, you can omit that from your roll actions.
Yeah, so you can just toss it in the garbage.
Yeah, you don't have to use it.
This is what they're doing to every job across the board. That's what they're doing to the game. Again, we're coming back to that core philosophical decision that I had taken issue with at the very beginning of this live letter, where they said the growing gap between our casual players and our hardcore players is something that we need to be active about closing. Here's how, you know what? Square Enix, let me explain something to you, okay? That gap has been closing naturally as you continue to turn off veteran players who fall off and let their subscriptions lapse. You're bleeding your veteran community and justifying it by saying, well, we need to bridge the gap. Well, the gap is getting smaller just by virtue of you making the business decisions that you're making. So how are you then also coming in and stepping in and justifying the decision with that as well? That doesn't make sense. That does not... no read of that makes any level of sense. Unless you're just saying our long-term subscribers don't mean anything. That they're meaningless. And, I mean, dude, if I was Square Enix, I wouldn't say that shit. That is not the position that I would take.
I feel like they think once you're playing, you're locked in. It doesn't matter. Now let's just get more new people.
You know, dude, I do kind of think that there is a little bit of that. Like, if we got them, they're here, and they're going to stay here. And I don't think that that's true. I think that is flawed logic.
Yoshi can't even think that because he says he concedes the point that when people get bored, he says, yeah, go play a different game then.
Because you'll probably come back.
Exactly.
You're going to come back.
You're going to come back.
Guess what, Yoshi? When you find yourself a good woman, okay, you can't stop treating her like a princess. You have to keep doing things for her. Buy her chocolate, surprise her, get her flowers, draw her a bubble bath. We deserve a bubble bath.
Listen, look, that logic, I don't know, but look, that logic that Square Enix is trying to apply is, I think that they're trying to say, well, that's the appeal that Final Fantasy XI had, and we were able to bridge the gap between 1.0 and 2.0. That's the kind of investment that our players have in the Final Fantasy brand name, and I'm telling you that it has worn thin. It has worn thin at this point. You're not going to get the same amount of people checking out a new 14 expansion because you just put out 15. That's not happening. Not going to happen. Who do you think is going to check out the game for the first time putting out Stormblood? I mean, there's going to be a few people that want to play with their friends, but
there's going to be like 1% of the population.
No, but I think there's going to be more advertising surrounding Stormblood as there already is. I've seen so many more targeted Facebook-sponsored advertisements.
They wouldn't.
So many more people are playing it now,
and all of that costs money. All of that is wasted. That's our sub money. That's what you've been.
But
that's what you've been
getting someone to buy the $60 game. That's their money.
That's what you've been paying $12 a month for the last 4 years for them to be able to afford. Instead of taking that money and paying their developers to make content for your game, they're sponsoring WrestleMania. Think about it. No, think about that for a second.
John's.
There is an exchange that happens there, and it's not a handshake. That's money.
You think zero people who watched WrestleMania picked up Final Fantasy after that?
Yes.
I don't know.
That's what
somebody did.
If anyone in the chat, there's fucking 300, there's almost 400 people watching us right now. There's 380 people watching us right now. If one of you can pipe up and said, oh yeah, I'm buying Stormblood because I saw it on WrestleMania.
John's. Or Papa John's. Yeah, the whole Papa John's thing. That's the same thing. All people looking at that is thinking, half off coupon.
Oh, pizza. I like pizza.
No one's going to go, wait, why am I getting half off? Final Fantasy? They have an online one? Let me go play that now.
Honestly, who do you think who exists out there that doesn't know that FF14 is a thing?
There are plenty of them.
Really?
Believe it or not.
But you know what?
I meet people all the time that are like, "Wait, Final Fantasy's online now?" Like, oh god, where?
And you don't think that that's someone trolling you? Maybe?
No, absolutely not. There are people who are just not keyed into certain genres of video game, and Final Fantasy. I know a lot of people that have never touched a Final Fantasy game. And they're like, "Wait, aren't those single player games?"
This is the question then, Nika. Those people out there. Which do you think is going to be more successful? Catering to try and get them to play or developing for your core audience base?
I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you on that at all, but I'm just saying there's got to be somebody out there.
Okay, but these people aren't going to play because they saw it on WWE or Papa John's. They're going to start playing because their friend says, hey, come play this game. I'm so excited to play this. You need to play this right now. And I'm having so much fucking fun.
And that is contingent on having an invested player base of people who want their friends to join you, who
have fun in the game and like to play.
But that's what they're shitting all over. Those are the people that you have. You have them right now. I mean, am I the only one that is just seeing categorically less people logging on now than ever? And I mean, granted,
it's the expansion lull. We knew that.
I know it's the expansion lull, but dude, we were sure when Heavensward came out that at the end of Heavensward or midway through Heavensward, we would see a serious community rebound. We did not see it. We saw an initial injection the first couple of weeks that the expansion was out, maybe up to 3.1, and then the drop off was dramatic. It was drastic. We all felt it. And I if you deny it, then you were on Balmung. That's it. That's it.
You're too busy to fapping to Mithra Fudakak.
That's right. So, look, it's just. I'm again. I don't want to be right about any of this shit. Like I don't want to be as negative
okay.
on this
I'm
as
sorry.
I'm being.
People in chat are saying, but that's Gordius's fault. Okay, who designed Gordius? That's the point we're trying to make, is the decisions that Square Enix is making aren't there to help support
the
community.
And again, that was Gordius's fault, not because of the difficulty of Gordius, but because they gave the easy option.
So no one had to do Gordius to get the story.
Exactly.
So of course people dropped off.
No, but the thing is that the people who did do it also weren't having fun with it. And I think that was a big mistake to put one like that out as their first raid tier. And it seems like, hopefully, maybe I'm just being too optimistic, that they're trying to fix that come the next raid.
Nika,
I don't know.
That minimizes the actual damage, the actual tangible damage that putting an easy mode raid did for the game.
Yeah, you can't say, oh no, it's not Square Enix's fault, it's Gordius. I mean, they did Gordius.
The thing is, look, Nika, I don't disagree with you. That is an additional demotivating factor. But they would have been able to fix it and correct the ship long term if they didn't have the albatross of the fucking easy mode hanging around their neck. They'd have more people that they could have pushed to get into it. It wouldn't have just died. It wouldn't have just fizzled out.
People wanted to see that story before they realized it was garbage.
Yes, exactly. because they would do the same thing that you are that you're doing, is that they would justify. That they would say, "Oh, well, the story's going to get better and I need to be able to beat this before I can advance." Right? It would have pushed the player base to be able to adjust to that shit. And the fact that the developers are adjusting to the player base, I mean, and kowtowing to the player base over and over and over again, to the point where they're not even kowtowing to the player base, they're kowtowing to who they think is going to be their player base, who they want their player base to be. That's a problem. That's a problem when the majority of your income is driven by subscriptions. This is a decision that could have only worked if they said, we're going to take the game free to play at the same time. Sorry, it just is. It just is. And it's not mechanical decisions, but the jump potion and this whole philosophy of
don't say the J word. Don't say it.
This whole fucking philosophy of reducing the skill gap between long-term and short-term players, like that whole thing.
All these concessions to make the game easier.
Exactly.
You know what the opposite of concession is? Progression.
There you go. Get good.
Get good.
Anyway, let's go back to our phone lines. Bill Murray of Sergeant Tannis is hanging on.
Bill!
What's up, Bill?
Hey, guys. What's up? Thanks for having my call.
Thanks for calling Limit Break Radio.
And, Aniero, I just want to say that I think you are 100% justified with your complaints. And I'm just thinking over the last 3 or 4 months, when it just seems like you guys have just been kind of like nailing this game over and over. And I listen to you guys in the car, and you'll just make these like awesome points over and over. And I'm just like, yes, that's exactly what needs to be said. And people need to hear that. And there's a place for that. And I'm glad that LBR exists as a place that can actually be honest.
Thank you.
Not just kind of like kiss butt. So
thank you.
Don't let any of these trolls deter you from doing that. You keep doing you, and
I don't think we've ever been deterred by a troll.
By trolls, non-trolls.
The only thing that trolls do to us is get us hard. That's it.
There was one time in game where I was trying to go into a raid, and it kept saying that you don't fulfill the requirements. You don't fulfill the requirements. It took like a half an hour. Like, why isn't this working? Is someone locked out? Blah 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 blah. I was like, no, we're fine. Then it turns out that Bill Murray was locked out.
Oh, Bill.
Aniero fun.
Thanks, $5. I don't think that's going to buy me very, very much fucking Mexican Xanax.
What about Canadian Xanax?
I don't know, man. I don't know what the exchange. I don't know what the exchange rate is. I know it's cheaper in Mexico, though. Anyway,
Bill, did you have anything else that you wanted to say, or did you just come in to stroke our cocks a little bit?
Well, I did want to talk about. I said, in light of those
bagels.
That's fair. You bring up a great point, weeaboo lover.
Bagels. Awesome. Thank you. Anyway, sorry to be
Bill.
interrupted by our audience.
That's cool. In light of, I think, those frustrations that we have with the game, when I personally look at the new HUD job UI things that they're doing, where they're actually putting these things in front of the players and saying, hey, pay attention to this. What I see them doing is potentially helping the players that really aren't that good and trying to help them to get better. And they haven't done a really good job at doing this before. They put in the Hall of the Novice and stuff like that. But this game does not tell people like how to play their job. And I'm actually excited about that as someone who would consider himself a hardcore player, because I am tired of going into dungeons and into 24-man raids and just wiping on stupid stuff because people are doing like 300 DPS or 400 DPS. And so I can commend them for at least trying. It might not get there perfectly, but at least it's slowly heading in the right direction to try to help these not good players get good by putting these things in front of them that look cool, they look flashy, they look sexy, and it actually gets them excited about doing some really powerful attack and something like this. And to me, that actually makes me want to go and run these dungeons, in the Duty Finder, because I know I'm not going to get thrown in with a bunch of idiots, hopefully.
But here's one of the problems with that, is that when you make the game easier to play for dumb people, right? It creates a certain complacent environment for them where they never really do have to improve, because they don't. Like, Square-Enix will just give them the tools to suck and still be passable. And I think that is a bad idea. Like, I think that's a fundamental game design philosophy that we've seen in the last 10 years-ish.
Needs to focus on lawless. Also I second bagels.
Okay.
Second bagels.
Okay. By the way, thanks for the donation. You have this effect where, instead of pushing your player base to get better and putting challenges in front of them that that they'll be able to overcome in time, it just seems like the game has progressively gotten easier and dumber as time goes on. Again, we sit around and we talk about, like, oh man, remember when Titan Hard was like the big thing that we had to all clear, and it's because the ask from the developer was big for the reward that we were getting out of it. And at that time, that content was challenging enough to act as a wall. And you saw a much more natural character progression, and you saw, at least in my opinion, you saw the gap narrowing because your casual players were challenging themselves to rise to the occasion of your veteran players. What happens when you become a veteran player? You automatically become a little bit less invested in the game, right? Let's say and this happens, like, for different people. It's a different high watermark that they get to before they start starting to divest themselves and their interests from the game, right? Nika, for you, it's probably once you have all of your raid gear and because you care about your friends and you're not a shitty person, all of your raid group has all of their raid gear, and then correct me if I'm wrong, you'll probably log in a lot less, and you'll become a little bit more divested from the game, right? Like Square.
I mean, yeah, that's true. Like, especially it's weird. Like, I've been trying to find stuff to do. Like, I'm doing a second anima, and I'm like trying to get more jobs to 270 for whatever reason. But like, it is weird to log in and then not talk to my friends because I feel very alone. And I'm also bird farming, so I've been trying to find all that like extra stuff to do, but without the group and without like a real goal to go for. Like, I don't know. I log in whenever I'm not doing anything. It's rather than like finding, like, making time to log in. Now I'm logging in when I just happen to find.
See, but you're making busy work for yourself, right? Like, if you're not compelled to be doing anything in an MMO, then the MMO isn't doing its job. The MMO is fundamentally failing you as a player, right? And
like bird farming, I still feel like is something that like I'm improving just because I think it's cool to have all of them and as a completion aspect. But in terms of like doing a second anima, there's literally zero reason that I'm doing that other than finding a reason to log in.
Yeah, I'd actually like to go back really quick to Aniero, to a likeness that you made between when you're talking about Titan Hard, right? Like that was hard. that caused some people frustration.
People would be stuck on that for days.
Right.
And the thing is, you saw an interesting phenomenon that you don't see in this game anymore. You saw other people that would sit around and be like, I will help you tank Titan.
Right. So
and they would shout for that group. Like, they would be actively trying to help other groups. Like, hey, if you need help getting your relic weapon, I'm going to sit around and I'm going to help you because I understand what kind of challenge you're being met with. It was a challenge that the entire community kind of banded together to help other people overcome, and you don't see that anymore.
And this is the question that I want to ask you, because in that case, we're all agreeing that Titan Hard was a good thing. I don't think there's a single person you can find who will agree that that was a bad time in Final Fantasy XIV, yet when we talk about the difficulty of Gordius, we're talking about how it started to kill the population. It was something that was hard, like Titan, and it did the opposite. Why? Because there was no tangible reason to do it because of easy mode.
Other than raid gear. And by that time...
Which you would get in the next patch cycle anyway.
By that time, the community had already figured out the
or
pattern.
You could get from Tome Gear, and that was
so if you can't see the difference between the time frame and where the game was during Titan Hard, when things like the relic weapon was locked behind it, and where the game was during Gordius, when nobody was playing because there was no reason to do it, then I don't even know what to say at that point.
Look, it becomes a question of how much are you pushing your player base to overcome something, because when the player base feels like there is a legitimate challenge and not one that is overly hard, much like, because again, I think by the time you had reached all 3 turns of Coil, you had at least 50% of the community that had written off doing raiding for themselves, as they had written, not that it was invalid content or that it was bad content, but it was content that they didn't have the resources to try to rise to the occasion of, right? And you saw a natural easing of that difficulty as we all leveled past the challenge. As we said, right? When you level past the challenge, when you give your player base boosted stats so that the earlier content becomes almost, face rollable, like, what is the point of that? Like, what is, like, you've naturally taken the challenge and decreased it by giving people increased stat totals. Like, why then go and do an additional nerf to it? So just that literally everyone can do it? Why? Why does that gap need to be closed? That's the thing that I don't understand, because over time, as your veteran community falls off, as it does naturally, even if you have a group of people who are incredibly invested in the world and in the game, there's going to be a natural fall-off point. You're going to see natural diminishing returns. And that's when you go and you add content for early players to be able to catch up, but you don't give them a skip button. You just give them the tools that they need to be able to catch up to their friends. And if you make the player feel like the world, like they're set against the world, guess what? Their friend is a little bit more inclined to help them out. That's just what I've seen from other MMOs. That's just what I know of human fucking behavior. But what do I know? Anyway,
nothing. You don't raid.
You know nothing.
Anyway, Bill, thanks so much for the call, man. We appreciate it. Hopefully the job gauges will do something. I don't know.
Which, by the way, the UI changes, that's a good thing. That's a good way to shorten the gap. Making the game easier by removing skills and removing cleric stance and removing actual skill. It just seems that's bad.
Like they did 2 things too many, right? Like they
again, we won't know that until we see it.
I feel like it's 2 steps, like 1 step forward, 2 steps back. You know?
You want to fucking talk about reducing skill? The slashing debuff. They're basically now Ninja and Warrior are going to put it up as part of their rotation. They won't have to do something different about it. They don't have to do anything different. It's part of the rotation now.
Like, it's just inherently in the rotation.
It's part of Shadow Fang for ninjas. So it's part of your DPS.
Yeah, that's straight up making what you do easier.
So what's the point of actually having a slashing debuff? Everyone's going to have it except Paladin in very rare circumstance.
Okay, at that point, just put the splash. Yeah, either just take it out, or it should just inherently always be up. I don't know what. Give me a slashing aura.
You don't need it. There's no point to a slashing debuff if everyone has it who needs it. Just like there's no point in a blunt debuff from Monk because Monk is always going to have it.
Or how you took out accuracy. You decided that, you know what, it's too much trouble. You just took it out. Everyone can hit now. Just take slash and debuff out. Wow, yeah, oh my gosh.
Oh, no, paladins when they don't have a warrior or a ninja.
You know what this is going to do now? You know what this is going to do? All right, this is going to make me better. Because if I don't have a warrior, I often have trouble keeping it up or I forget to keep it up. Ain't got to worry about it now.
Nope.
And thanks, Square Enix. You're muted.
You're muted.
You're muted, Aniero.
He openly admits he's a shit player.
Yeah.
Look at that shit. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like he's just
you're
like
all shitty
I'm just gonna choose to be lazy and be rewarded for it. This doesn't seem fucked to anyone else.
Square Enix is literally making me a better person.
I don't know. No.
Sorry. A better player. Square Enix is making me a better player.
You're not being a better player. You're being a better DPS.
I don't know. My slashing debuff's going to be up 100% of the time.
You're still not going to be able to raid shit because you're not being challenged. You're still going to be a shitty player. You're going to be a shitty player in PvP. You're not going to actually work for anything. You're just going to be rewarded for not trying hard.
But again, who wants to play this? Who wants to play a game that just rewards you for not doing what they'd ask you to?
Challenging your players.
I don't fucking get this, man.
Challenging your players makes your players better.
Yeah.
Why does Square Enix not want that?
That's something I always liked about the ninja rotation was how you had like these three choices to make. You know, you're gonna put Hutan on for longer, you're gonna do damage, or you're gonna put your debuff back up. And now what are they just giving us? Just a straight up rotation again, just a numbered rotation?
Yeah.
That's so lame. That's also making it more boring. It's less exciting now.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Do you think players were already falling asleep in dungeons?
Ugh.
This is gonna make it better?
Ugh.
Healers were falling asleep in dungeons, and that's with cleric stance being an actual skill you had to think about in the next 5 seconds of the future. You think they're going to be more engaged with the game? They're not.
Let's hear a little bit more about the job gauges.
All right. Do we want to bring up pictures of them?
Because we have pictures prepared.
Do we need to? I mean,
everyone's seen them who's seen them.
All right, fair. They're just fucking gauges, man. They're just all you're doing is taking a TP bar and putting some fucking
a few
extra.
of them are unique enough. They're like
maybe.
Ninjas and astrologans are much easier to manage what you're doing.
Are they?
All right. So, the new HUD graphic displays, basically they're like, there's too much focus on the buff, debuff timers and the little bars. So in some cases, they're basically giving you the option, because I don't think any of these, from what I've been told, that you have to have it up.
I don't know about the ninja one, because you get this new gauge that gets filled up when you auto attack or when you weapon skill or something. So I don't know how that's going to be represented in the game without it. So,
all right. So but as we've said before, they're all specialized for each job's unique action. So Monk UI has it for their chakra, which seems like it's based on like a 5 charge sort of system.
But there are many different ways to get that now.
Right. Yeah, you can do it during battle now instead of just outside of battle.
Well, you could always do it during battle, but you sacrifice your GCD to do it.
And now, isn't it that like as people doing stuff around you within your aura, they help you build chakra?
I mean, the biggest issue with that was that Monk never had any party utility. It basically only helped itself, and so people were like, "Well, why bring a monk then?" So the whole purpose of it now is that monks will buff the party, and while that party buff is going out, the party buffs the monk by adding chakra stacks.
I mean,
it now has raid utility.
Yeah, that's a positive, obviously a positive change to Monk. But like we mentioned in Ninja's case. You also just have a giant pinwheel that now has your Hutan buff on it. So if you didn't pay attention to the tiny little square icon on top of your HP bar, well, now you got a huge-ass pinwheel type deal.
I mean, if you don't need it, you don't need it. But if you're a new player and you have a difficult time keeping it up, then yeah, that's helpful.
Even once in a while, as a veteran player, your mind wanders somewhere else, and you're like, "Oh shit, I have a rabbit now on my head."
No, that again, it's not the worst. It's not the worst thing. It's and again, if this was an expansion on like if you hit level 61 and it unlocked your job gauge, right? Like I think that this would feel much more like a natural progression of the job as opposed to going back and shoehorning an element of the job in, because we're going to have to deal with this at, various stages of these job gauges at lower levels as well.
It could only work that way if the job only changed and lost all that abilities at 61, which they're not doing. They're completely retooling the battle system. So in that case, case, it's going to be there from the beginning inherently.
Well, but that's what I'm saying is this feels like I know, and I understand that, Nika, but what it feels like is that they could have just expanded the battle system for how little they changed it.
One of the things that they said these UIs are supposed to help is that they want to increase visibility regarding stances. If you have any type of stance, you will know.
I'm okay with this. I'm okay with this. That's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine. Like more stuff that's represented as like character animation. That I'm fine with.
Yeah, and like they were saying too, it was so hard to manage all your buffs and debuffs at the same time. Like Monk has so many icons for different stances and things that like they all look the same up there. They're just colors, and you're like, well, what the fuck is which thing? So anything that increases the visibility and decreases the need to manage your little tiny icons, I'm all for that.
No, and again, I agree with that, and it's a change that I think has been needed in the game for a while because we have been staring at small status buffs and debuffs for way too long, and I like being able to visually break that up and make me focus on different areas of the screen. I like that from an abstracted point of view, and it could be in execution. This could be really fun. I don't know.
I agree with that.
Like it's hard to say. Just knowing what we know of the existing system, I just think that there are a lot of concerns here, and with good reason.
Yeah, one of the things they're also hoping this does is to alleviate the extreme disparity between DPS.
There it is again. Why?
Well, actually, I think
let bad DPS just be bad. God.
I mean, that is fair, but yeah, I think the idea that there are certain people who maybe, can't keep up with the fact that, there's so many icons down there in the bar, I lose track of them or whatever, giving them a giant pinwheel should help them be better.
Dude, this is like the same driving philosophy that you get, and the end product, is a Star Fox game that plays itself. That you need no input on the controller, and the whole thing will just go through the game, and it'll be done, and you can just watch it passively. Like it seems like that philosophy is tied in here with like you don't even have to lift a finger, and we're going to close the gap between a bad player and a good player. And I don't think that that's Square Enix's responsibility.
No, it's not. You're right. But at the same time, I think that just happens to be one of the things that will happen as well. Because like you said, having players focus on different parts of the screens or making the UI more unique per job is a good thing. Like the fact that we're just sitting here looking at a bar with all these tiny little icons with numbers above them, that's A, uncreative, and B, pretty boring, isn't it?
Yeah, I kind of think so.
Yeah, so
I kind of think so.
Let's talk about some individual gauge. The Astro now one will actually display their cards, which I've never played Astrology before, but again, I assume that your buffs were probably just little tiny icons.
It's a lot, and it's really easy to lose track of which ones you're saving for later and which ones you're using as the whole like the one that's turning it into an AoE. It's easy to lose track of that.
Yeah, that probably makes the job as an astrologian a lot more interesting as well. Dark has a black blood gauge.
It's going to be something new. It's exciting.
Did you actually see it? Did you actually fucking see the? It's again, it's a gauge. It's a gauge that has a sword around it. Cool, whatever.
Yeah, but what are you going to get from powering it up? Like,
who fucking knows? Yeah, no one knows.
Yeah, so we can't sit here and say, "Oh, Dark Knight's got no changes." We don't fucking know.
That's not the problem, Nika. I think the problem with Dark Knight, look, the Astrologian being able to see their cards, that's interesting. That fits with the job, and that's something they probably needed. Just giving the gauge to Dark Knight seems like a concession. Like, well, we have to give the Dark Knight something. Let's give him a gauge.
All the tanks have gauges now.
Almost all the jobs have some form of. That's all it is that it's just a gauge with different fucking animations on it.
That's just lazy in that case. Warrior has two separate stances, up to 100%. Their wrath is gone. White Mage healing lilies. Nika, you were starting to rave about those earlier. Did you or Juxta want to talk about the lilies?
I don't understand. If these are some kind of an equal to ether flow for White Mages, and you can use certain abilities that use lilies. They didn't tell us that much. Everyone's sitting here. Oh, did we watch the same video? Dark Knight clearly gets. Yeah, but all it showed us was the animations. They didn't give us the name of the moves. Some of you are great at telling which move is which by looking at animation. I can stare at it all day and not tell you what moves are going on. And I use them every fucking day. So until we actually get to see what moves now train into what and which ones specifically use the gauge, there's not much we can 100% conclude behind all of this. But they're like, yes, we can. No, we can't.
All they do is act as a gate for that you have to fill. You've got to fill this meter, you've got to fill this bar before you can access these abilities. That's all it is.
Yeah, you can use the lilies to reduce cast times, or you can use them to fuel other skills.
So,
or like, I think some of them are getting special abilities though that once it fills, you can only use. Like I know Samurai doesn't get its big crazy attack until it fills the bar.
Yep.
Okay, cool. That's it. Like we just.
I don't know. We don't know if that's it.
Fill the bar, do the thing, and fill the bar again. Like
we already do that with limit breaks.
Samurai gets fill the bar.
But there was some jobs that would deplete, like there were certain abilities. Oh gosh, which job was it? Well, it would deplete the bar just a little bit if you used an ability and then charge it back up. Whereas like you'd have to then make a decision: do I let the bar charge all the way up, or do I use my other abilities that take some away from the bar? But that in its own gives a little more diversity. To the job.
I think the difference here may be that certain actions will have different potencies on how they fill your bar and how quickly you can refill it, because really all this feels like, at least for given what we know, is a personal limit break. Is that every job now gets a personal limit break. You get a big hit in there, and that's really it. And if that's the case, like what?
That's lame.
Okay, well no, but that's the thing. Like it could change like how much that gauge fills up. Could change based on which move you do. Yeah. Which could change rotation, which could increase complexity. Which is a good thing.
Yes, that sounds cool.
We don't know how it works yet, so let's not go crazy with the gauges quite yet. I mean, this is fine, but can we just all agree that Samurai has retarded mudras?
Yeah.
Like, they can't handle real mudras where you can't use weapon skills between them.
What's a mudra? I like swords.
I like swords. Oh, I should use my mudra. No, I hit weapon skill.
Anyway.
Oh, please. Samurai's going to come out and you're going to take all that back. You're like, okay, it's actually when we're
No. Oh, Nika. There is no.
No, I guarantee you.
Okay, Titus, calm down over there.
There is no possible way that when Samurai comes out that you are going to get a concession from any one of us.
But Aniero, Sam has Kenki and Sengage. The Sen monitors the Sengetsu cast stances you have active. Kenki fuels your other skills.
Fuck that shit. Did you see the way it runs? Ew, oh my god. Cool. Let's be a little bit more anime. If they could have animated the Scooby-Doo legs underneath that samurai, they would have. And you know it. It was embarrassing. It was Just make your fucking character move like every other character and make it like god damn, that was all of my anti-weebiness wanted to rise out of me and vomit. Ugh.
Lol. Scholar has a fairy gauge, whatever that means.
Yeah, no fucking clue.
Dragoon has 2 new gauges, one for Blood of the Dragon that can be consumed to charge their gauge in some way. And then they have Eye of the Dragon, which is just some new Dragoon element. See, like this, for Bard, song duration gauge. Like that was their like big Bard thing.
But they're also getting their songs and stuff are changing, and it also seems like there's no more casting times. We don't really know.
No casting times confirmed.
That's good.
No more arrow mage, no more gun mage. So yay for those guys.
Yeah. The ninja we mentioned, Huton timer. Each pinwheel is 10 seconds. They have the ninja scroll gauge for Ninki, which is the new actions. Red mage looks interesting. They have to keep a balance between the white and dark magic that they use.
Yeah, that does actually. Again,
this is like. I think super hyped for this.
I really wish that Escalia was here to talk about this.
I know. I like without our resident red mage expert, I'm not sure.
Okay, so the red mages are really cool. So
hashtag not my red mage.
They have to cast like a quick spell that'll increase either white or black magic, and then afterwards they get chain spell, which makes their next cast instant. So I believe the quick spell increases your gauge by 9 mana, and then the big spell increases it by 11 mana, and then like they have this other spell which is like a really, really big spell which increases by 21 mana, and you have to manage to keep them all both relatively equal, and it looks really hard and really confusing. I'm actually really excited for this.
Interesting. I kind of liked the Bard song duration gauge. Like from the minute I saw it, I was like, all of that is super clear. I understand everything that's going on here. You have the amount of songs that you can have up, like you can beneath them, right? And it just counts down what your duration is going to be. Put it up.
And it also seemed like some were like they're actual targetable songs now rather than all full party.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think but like that's what I'm saying. That's my point, Juxta, is that all of these things seem like very simple mechanics that they're working into into these job gauges, right? So the job gauge for Bard really does just look like a duration timer, right? Like it's just a countdown timer, but it's a very cleverly done and well, a good addition, because I think Bard needed that, right? Like I think that it was something that was necessary. So
they have like little like things that fill up on the underneath the Bard gauge too. I don't know what that is. So that might be neat.
To me, I just think like each time you note that one of those has fallen off, to go to circle back in your rotation or to cycle through the next song. That's what I think.
Maybe.
Right? Because if
it works the same way. There was actually an add-on that I used to use in WoW and Shadow Priest for dots, where it put up the durations, and as it got down to the end, it would turn red. You would know you better recast that dot before it runs out. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I mean, really, some of these do just seem like windower add-ons. You know what I mean?
That's my thing. Well, I do think all of these are necessary and serve their purpose. When you look at something like Red Mage, which seems like it helps a really complex rotation, and then you look at something like song durations or Huton duration, and it just seems like some people are getting really cool, interesting things that help them actually perform this rotation, and other ones are just like, hey, stupid, don't forget your songs.
Or they're having some of their best abilities walled beyond this kind of arbitrary gauge that you have to fill.
It's probably Red Mage was based around having this UI element on the screen, and then other like Bard or Samurai, they're like, oh, we should do something for them.
I don't know. Like it kind of seems like that, but I have a feeling that these are all going to matter way more than it seems at this point.
I mean, yes,
like
probably.
They're trying to change every job and make it feel like the battle system has changed. Just giving a Bard a timer, like, come on now. Like it's going to mean something else.
Dude, they can give Bard absolutely fucking nothing, and just not having cast time, so we'll make it.
The last few here, Machinist has a heat gauge. When they use their gauze barrel, it pumps up the heat. Black Mage,
you get a ton of little drone guys you can use.
Yeah, it says it indicates element and your current stacks. Summoner, we'll go into details later.
Yeah,
so cool though.
We'll talk about it in a little bit. But before we move on, let's go to our phone lines. Joe Never Fails hanging on. What's up, Joe?
What's up, dudes?
What's happening, man?
Hey, what's up?
What's up, everybody?
Thanks for calling in. We have been.
You're probably super depressed, right?
Yeah, we've been sounding our opinions here. Joe, you tend to be a bit of a counterbalance towards our pessimism. How are you feeling about FF14 since the producer live letter 35?
I'm really excited about Stormblood in general. It's crazy because we've talked. I've called in several times, and it's always like anticipation for what, and then discussion of what comes out. And a lot of the stuff that we've talked about over the months and over the years, like, usually comes into to play. For me personally, like Stormblood, it's going to be exciting, and like the way my brain works and the way that I think about it, I'd love to. You guys have been talking about so many great things right now. It's just absolutely fantastic. It's just like, it's very difficult to frame your mind around everything that they've announced to us at this point, because it's only a tease. It's not the actual implementation of how it's going to work.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So like, we can't really digest exactly how things are going to work. It's all hype at this point, and then theory crafting and people jerking themselves off on Reddit and things like that.
Yeah.
So,
it's mostly reaction at this point until anyone gets hands-on and is able to tell us about it.
Yeah, so it's anticipation at this point. But
right.
the biggest two things my brain thinks about when I consider Stormblood is I try to wrap my brain around the business aspect of what Square-Enix is trying to accomplish, and then I try to wrap my brain around the community aspect of what they're trying to accomplish, and that's the balance of what a successful MMO has to do. So they have to worry. They have to worry so much about they have to worry so much about making the bottom dollar and increasing to grow the business, and then they got to think about exactly what they're really going to give us. So
okay, but as a fan though, as someone who pays every month for this game, I don't think you have to give them that benefit of the doubt. I think that's actually giving them way too much benefit of the doubt. Like you're kind of letting them off easy, because these. I mean, yeah, I understand that they've got to balance business decisions. But there's been 100 reasons that I've laid out why this is a bad long-term business decision. Because all of their other long-term business decisions that has favored they're short-term games, or the people, the new players, or the people who are not as invested in this game long-term, where have the dividends been? Like, where have they had gains in terms of subscription numbers, in terms of engagement? I've just seen it all fall apart during 3.0.
The biggest thing that's happening right now is, like, I'm going to debate this because I honestly don't think that is it's an opinion situation right now, which is tough because we've seen a big increase. We saw an increase at Heavensward, and then we saw a drop off. And as of right now, it's all press. So they're doing media tour, they're doing sponsored broadcasts, and I'll be honest with you. There's no more hype in any game in the MMO market right now than with Stormblood.
No,
and that is
no.
There isn't, and that's the truth. That's the absolute truth. If you want to talk about Ashes of fucking Creation, whatever the hell that game is, I haven't heard a word about it. I haven't heard about Legends of Aria, whatever the freaking Ultima Online next video game is, and whatever it is. Revelations is more tits and ass and whatever the hell. So I'll be honest with you guys. Like when Lyric decides to play a video game. When JP, and I've been telling you guys about this for months. I've talked about it for months. I talked about it about the current demographic of current Final Fantasy broadcasters because they're paying bigger streamers to support their game.
Yeah, fuck them. Fuck Lyric, fuck JP, fuck them both.
I'll be honest.
Those fucking hangers on, they're getting a paycheck. That's the only reason. Of course, the only reason that they're sitting and interacting with any one of you FF14 players is because they're getting a fucking paycheck out of it. And fuck.
That's the truth. That's the truth, and that's where I come from. That's where I come from because I honestly feel like it's fucking bullshit. But at the end of the day, when Lyric plays a video game, people buy a video game. When bigger broadcasters play a video game, bigger people play the video game, and more people play the video game. Listen. Having said that, this is the truth of what happens. The same thing that happens to Twitch viewers is the same thing that's going to happen to Final Fantasy 14 viewers and Final Fantasy 14 players. They're going to come in because Lyric's playing. They're going to come in because bigger broadcasters are playing. And then they're going to realize that these guys have no fucking clue what they're talking about. And they have no fucking clue how to play the game. And they're going to find a family in Limit Break Radio. And they're going to find a family at other people's broadcasts. That's the bottom line. That's literally how Twitch works. People come in, watch Co-Carnage, watch fucking Markiplier. They watch fucking PewDiePie. They watch all these guys. And then they realize, like, hey, this is getting old.
You know what? I think
people will find their way.
You know what, Joe? I don't think I can disagree.
I love the optimism.
I'm
being honest. Like, it's going to happen. It's a numbers game, and Square-Enix playing the numbers game. And when it comes down to what they're doing, systemically changing the video game, they're doing what many other video games are not doing right now. Where new expansion, you got a new class, new area, new story, new raids, but the game is systemically the exact same. Final Fantasy 14 has, in the development of what the game is, they're giving us a new video game to play with these new battle system changes. And they're catering the understanding of these systems and the understanding and the way that people view the system to a more casual player. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not necessarily a bad thing. And I agree with you guys 100%. Like, a bad player is not going to be fucking bad whether they see their blood in a gauge or whether they see their blood in a freaking dot on the bar. That's the bottom line. Is the bad player is going to be fucking bad no matter what. And I will continue to preach this. There's, from my understanding, there's players that want to be better and players that just care about fucking getting shit. And I don't like it when video games develop content for players that just want shit. What can we just give you? Here, kick you for free. You play the game for 20 hours, you get everything that you. But, like, for me, specifically talking about a couple things you guys said earlier, like the skill gate that they stopped this video game's progression around fucking Titan Hard. I loved that because you couldn't avoid it, man. You had to learn the content to get past that point in the game. If you wanted your relic weapon, you had to kill it. So you had to beat it.
Yeah,
it made the player base better.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, and we all rose to that challenge because we all knew that we had to get through it, and that we had to help other people get through it if we were all going to get to the other side of this thing. And then you know what happened? We got the fucking Steps of Faith nerf, and all of those goddamn terrible players that whine to the fucking forums and blow Yoshi-P again and again and just sing his fucking praises. Get to go out, they got to have their way. Like they
have their cake and eat it.
They figured out, okay, Square Enix is going to acquiesce to our demands. And anyone who had any kind of long-term investment in this game saw that and went, fuck, this is bad, because if Square Enix acquiesces to something it's as simple as steps of faith, it means that we have moved from a philosophical direction of this game away from what was driving it in the early days of 2.0 and A Realm Reborn, and what has been something that MMO players have gravitated towards for a long time, and shifted that philosophy towards, we have to try to make our product as appealing for new players as possible. We have to, allow players to play with each other as quickly as possible. And it's this WoW mentality of, people just want to play with their friends and they don't have any other additional investment out of the game than that. And I'm here to tell you that that's bullshit. That's bullshit. And there's another thing, Joe. I want to kind of disagree with you on one aspect, and that is that if Lyric plays a game, people buy that game, and that may be true right now. But I do think that there is a bubble. There is a bubble around Twitch where people will figure out at some point that this shit isn't sustainable. That donating to people, donating to people that you like on a stream is really kind of financially, unless you have that money to throw away, you can't count on that kind of shit. There is going to be a day where people just don't give a shit about what is on Twitch and they move the fuck on. I don't know what's going to end up making that, but there's going to be that point. And the more that we have the shit like sponsored streams, where instead of the communities or the player bases best interests at heart, that these fucking game developers continue to just have their bottom line and sponsorships best interest at heart, this is going to be fucked and no one's going to have any fun. You're right in a lot of ways, and you're right about the fact that, these sponsored streamers, they only last for certain periods of time and it increases hype and it doesn't create the quality. But there's a lot more of a viewer base on Twitch in the medium to small broadcasting section than there are in the large broadcasters. So yeah. No, and I totally agree with that. And for as much as I love Twitch for their community points, okay, look at the way that we as a company are investing where we're spending our time, right? Okay, we do Twitch. We love doing Twitch. We love hanging out with people. We love doing this show over Twitch. But long term, we and just look at Checkpoint as evidence. Long term, I don't think that we're going to be able to make the most sustainable product here, and that's why we went to major media. That's why we went to radio and said we can make this product for you, and you will hopefully be able to give us a longer life at doing this than just simply Twitch or podcasting can, because that bubble is going to burst. And the same thing's going to happen around 14, where and I think we've already seen it. I think the bubble burst at midway through Heavensward, man. This is my thing, is that I will disagree at this point in time, because I'm still really hopeful for Stormblood, because honestly, and from my perspective, I honestly think that Heavensward is going to take over. Stormblood's going to take over the fucking. I'm not even kidding you guys. I think that the amount of hype and the amount of exposure that this game is going to get in the next few weeks, the next 2 weeks, and the amount of love it's going to get, and the amount of people talking about it will dramatically sway a market of video gamers. I hope so. In a way that we haven't seen in Final Fantasy XIV before. Yeah. And that's honestly, that's my hope. I hope, because I've been talking about this shit for 3 years, where if Square Enix comes to the plate with wanting to develop better PvP and more raids and make it accessible to more people, they really have a legitimate chance at competing for the number one MMO in the world. In the current business atmosphere for what MMOs are even though they're very successful, they are a dying genre. They are games that are not continuing to grow. The MMO decade is not this decade. So, and I agree with you. And when you look only at the data, that is the conclusion that you reach. But I want to challenge that, because this is the same shit that people say about radio as a medium. Look at the way that your fall off is happening on your audience under the age of 35. It's like a 90-degree drop off where you go from engagement to fucking nothing. I fully believe in my heart that the reason that happens is because you have a disaffected portion of your audience that is not being met with anything that they recognize when they go to the medium, or they're not being met with the game that they wanted or was promised, and they just end up falling off. It's the exact same thing.
The tough thing is it's really difficult to compare, and I can't debate you, and I can't argue. It's really difficult to compare radio to an MMO because it's a medium of information and absorbable information that had its beginnings 50 years ago, 100 years ago.
Right? No. And it's not quite an apples to apples comparison. But what my point is that you're talking about audience trends. You're talking about audience behavior, and when you see a large drop off, and you're discounting that as like, we can absorb it, or like the thing that radio is being short-sighted about is that age is going to keep creeping up. Soon it's going to be 45 and you see that fall off. Soon it's going to be 55 and you see that fall off. What are you going to do when it gets to that point? And they're like, well, they have all types of short-term answers, but they don't have any long-term answers. And I'm saying that Square-Enix is doing the same thing, that they have a lot of short-term answers, but they have nothing in the bag for long-term.
That's not true, I don't think, at all, because if you look at the way that they're literally fundamentally changing right now to be a lot more conducive to a new player experience, that is conducive to long term, and that's literally how they're following WoW in this. Like, we've talked about this for months. They're copying exactly what larger MMOs have done to allow for long-term growth and to allow for a new player base that has zero understanding of what Final Fantasy XIV is and just knows it's a video game and just knows it's an MMO to come off the rip. If they want to invest even more money, they can immediately catch up, which is by itself an unbelievably untapped revenue stream that Final Fantasy is going to bank on.
Hey, hang on.
They are literally going to make millions of dollars on the ocean by itself. And that's another argument in another direction. But
now hang on.
You said changes. Go ahead.
You said that World of War. That other games have done this. Okay, and the only thing that I have to say to that is World of Warcraft was the only one to be able to do this successfully and long term. Every other game that has made concessions on the way that you advance your character has also made a negative concession where they say, where at the same time they're saying, well, we're also going to take it free to play. Okay,
I disagree. I disagree because
who has done that? Who has been able to?
I'll use Final Fantasy
11
and run out 11 straight up. You can go grab 7 companions and level your way through the desert by yourself when you needed 5 other teammates to go do it in the past. Is that not a viable way for people to continue to progress?
You're still having to play. You're still having to play the fucking game, though. You're still that's the thing. Even if they're giving you companions, you're still having to play the game. You're still having to sit through the fucking cutscenes. You're not buying an item to fast forward you pass through all that shit.
Star Wars: The Old Republic.
And they stopped charging a monthly fee. They stopped charging a subscription when they did that.
No, but you can't play the game. You can't really play the game.
They have both models. They have a free-to-play and a subscription model, and you don't get shit in the free-to-play one.
It's almost the exact same thing that Final Fantasy XIV does. They just don't give you the same amount of content in Final Fantasy XIV and Star Wars: The Old Republic.
Guess where we're headed, guys? Free to play.
I think it's
free to play territory, guys. Woo!
Listen, that's
feels
not true.
Great, doesn't it?
That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
If 11's not free to play, 14 won't be free to play.
Really?
He told us ourselves he'd rather shut the game down than let it go free to play.
No pay. He also said no pay to win. And see how that fucking went.
Joe, that's also not Yoshi-P's decision.
Leveling isn't pay to win. Leveling isn't pay to win, though. I don't understand this. How is a jump
pay to win is when you pay for something you can't get otherwise. Like you pay for the best gear when you can't get it in the game.
Yeah, pay to win is if I buy the 275 rip for $50. Like that's the truth. It's not pay to win.
Joe, that's where we're headed. That's where that is the logical conclusion for all of these concessions. It is.
It's a dramatic conclusion.
Oh, come on, man. And the thing is that when they put those 270 weapons in the cash app, you're going to be like, well, it's a business decision.
They're not going to do that.
Oh, they are. They are.
No, they won't.
Yeah, they will. Oh, they fucking will. Don't lie. Do not lie to yourself. If they're going to give you a fast forward button on everything else, you don't think that they're going to also be like, hey, if you want to buy the animal weapons that you didn't get, that you decided to skip past,
there's zero chance. There's zero chance.
Fuck that.
I'll make you a bet live right now. I'll make you $100 bet.
Fuck it, dude. I'm telling you, at some point, that is the logical conclusion to where this philosophy leads. That is the logical conclusion.
Outside of all that other stuff, like it's the coolest thing about this right now is that Square-Enix has given us just enough information so there can be a dialogue. There can be a dialogue like this, like people draw their conclusions and it's all hype between now and Stormblood, and none of us are really going to know exactly what's going to happen in between now and when we get a chance to put our hands on the game. The things that I will talk about is, yes, I am excited. I am incredibly excited about Stormblood. I think the new classes are going to be fun to play. I don't know whether any of them are going to like break the mold or anything like that, and that's just for time to tell. I will say, even though I am particularly upset about, and this is something that I do agree with you guys on 100%, I'm upset about the way they dumb down PvP. And this is something that's really big. I'm upset about the way they dumb down PvP for somebody that's done a lot into this PvP community.
And that is emblematic. That is emblematic of every fucking piece of decision making that's coming out of Square-Enix.
It's still not problematic.
It is.
Stop talking for a second.
I didn't say emblematic.
I read the PvP changes and I was like, okay, this actually might make PvP fun for me. Maybe I'll start it.
Exactly. That's exactly right. So for me personally, for somebody that's worked really hard in doing my best to expose PvP and get more people excited about PvP and the current systems that they have,
it undercuts you
because it does undercut me. And for anybody who wants to, you know, talk about how good I am at PvP, it's regardless. It doesn't matter whatsoever. If the bottom line is, I've been broadcasting PvP and I've been talking about PvP for 3 years in this game, and all of the effort and the time that I've put into getting my gear and learning and teaching people,
it's all out the window.
It's all out the window. However, that doesn't mean it's not a good thing.
I was gonna say, is getting more people interested and involved a bad thing?
Exactly. So
if this is what they're going to do every fucking expansion cycle, which evidence shows that it is, then how can you how can you expect people to invest themselves long term like you did if the clock is being reset every 2 years?
All I can say is this: from what we've seen from this video game, Square-Enix engaging the majority of the community and catering content, catering the future development of this video game to what the needs of the community are to an extent. When this game comes out, there will be a huge feedback period, and I'm sure that they will make adjustments from here for the future. We're going to see changes. But
they are catering this game to the people who have not been paying the monthly subs, the people who have not invested the time, the money, or the effort to go out to things like FanFest. They're investing where they see the value, and this is the part. This is the part that pisses me off. Where they see the value is in the gains to be made in other people who have not been floating the cost of this game already. And and I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. You need to do that. That's a business decision that's necessary. But they're doing it at the expense of your veteran player base, and that is the thing that I have a problem with.
Do you know why? This is the reason why. So if you talk about the veteran player base,
because the veteran player base is gone already. You lost them at Gordius.
Correct. The veteran player base of this video game is going to want to come back regardless of what they put out. The veteran player base of this video game is so much of a smaller percentage of what the actual income and the revenue that this video game makes from a business standpoint. Literally, and this is as much fact as you can possibly break it down to from a business perspective. They literally say, we don't fucking care. We're not going to continue to develop content for the veteran players. We're going to continue to create content towards the new casuals.
And that's where you get the PvP decisions and all of the rest of the stupid bullshit that's coming along with Stormblood.
It's sustainable in the short run, but is that really sustainable in the long run?
It is not.
If you're consistently catering towards new players, eventually those new players become veteran players.
Yes.
And then they're still catering to the new players. So then those veteran players quit.
It doesn't change though, Joe. It's been the same shit. They've been continually trying to cater to new players, which is where we get shit like Lords of Verminion. I can't even sit here, dude. I can't even sit here and take that line of logic seriously, where it's like a trickle down effect. Like, oh, you'll have new players that end up becoming veterans. Well, no, not if you continue to develop only content for your new players.
Yeah, those new players who become veterans will then quit. So I don't know how sustainable it is if they're consistently bringing in new players but not keeping them. In the long run, you're not going to have any players.
They've been doing it for 4 years, and it's still a game. So
it is
you guys are still playing.
It is not.
There's
nowhere near as many players as there was at AARR or even at Heaven's Word. Like
it's honestly like it's a 20 to 30% drop.
No, it's not. No. I don't believe
Where are your statistics on the actual amount of
where are yours? What are yours,
They
man?
put out the
It's
census.
all
The
anecdotal.
maximum amount of subs that this game has had is between 700 and 800,000 maximum concurrent active subs.
It's all
That's the
anecdotal.
max.
We don't get any information on subs, the number of current subs, or anything like that from Square Enix. So all of this is speculation, straight up.
There is first party, but this game is bigger. This game is bigger if you compare it to everybody else. If you compare. The reason why I go off of this is because people say that Star Wars: The Old Republic is dead, and I did the investigation. I went out and I did the research, and Final Fantasy XIV is bigger than Star Wars: The Old Republic in terms of active concurrent subs, and there's 500,000 active concurrent subs as of December 2016. So this game has more than 500,000 active concurrent subs. That's a 20% drop off. That is between a 20 and 30% drop off from the beginning of Heaven's Word to where we're right now. And obviously 500,000 active concurrent subs plus the amount of people that spend money on Fantasia potions and buy up all the Odin and everything like that continue to buy the game. This game is doing very well, and it is literally no chance of dying. It is no chance of dying at this current point in time. And if you look at a smaller video game, that's Star Wars: The Old Republic. Star Wars: The Old Republic is the second most profitable EA IP in the world. Outside of, I forget what the first one is. And that's an MMO. And that can be looked up and Googled if you want to look at that. Regardless of the amount of people that we know, subbed or not, this game is going to continue to make money. So the point is, getting new people is going to help the business. Old people will come back. People who failed in Alexander 1, 2, and 3.
They'll come back and then leave again.
That's exactly.
But this is the thing.
Nika understands. Nika gets it.
And that's okay. There's a very small percentage. 20 to 40,000 people cleared all of the raids.
Where are you getting these numbers, Joe?
A12S. How many people have cleared A12S?
There were some census numbers.
There's a census every year. That's it. Those are the only numbers that you can compare one against another.
They're first party Googleable numbers. Like, you can Google them.
Square Enix doesn't.
40,000 people. Yes, it's a census. So
they did tell us how many people cleared the raids. That was one of the stats.
If you look at this stuff, like, they're clearly not going to care about catering as much content to 40,000.
Did we?
So continuing through that, like, they're going to continue to make this game accessible to new people, and what's good for new people is good for the video game. I'm telling you flat out, we're going to see an incredible rise in subs.
Not day one.
But the question is, how many of those subs stick around once they hit 60, once they get to the end game stuff? How many of those subs? Yeah, we're going to see. Obviously, at a new expansion, we're going to see a huge rise of subs, but how many are going to stick around past 6 months? How many?
I don't know. How many people are going to spend $80 to get a level 60 character off the rip, though? Who cares? Because they already spent $80. Whether they stick for 15 months or not, that's so amazing for business from Square Enix's standpoint. Well, they're already making money. They're prepping themselves. $60 for an expansion plus $25. That keeps them afloat for how long? How many people can they engage? It's the sales aspect. It's the business aspect. They can continue to survive for another 2 years, maybe off the first 2 months.
Okay, but this is the same fucking justification that they use to introduce a fucking a cash shop into the game. Everyone reviled that choice when they decided that they were going to do that. And again, this has just been small concessions as we continue to go on. And it's fucking horseshit, man. Like, okay, fine. If you want to say that that's just good business, fine. The cash shop was just good business too. And you know what I mean? Like, how many concessions as a fucking community do we put up with before we go, you're taking this game that we all really loved and you're turning it into World of Warcraft?
This is the biggest thing, is regardless of everything that I've said, the reason why there's a fundamental difference in our arguments is because this is a community-based place. And if I'm going to frame any of my thoughts around the community aspect,
it's not.
No, I'm saying I'm not the game. I'm talking about your extreme. I'm talking about this podcast. I'm talking about this broadcast right now. When I talk about, and if I am to frame any of my thoughts around the community aspect, I have to agree with every single one of you guys on it. Because it is unfortunate and it's sad and it's frustrating to know that I've been subscribed to this game for 3 years and that the majority of content is not going to be catered to the way that I play the game.
Square Enix
is something that I do agree with you guys on.
Square Enix is pissing on our heads and telling us that it's raining. That's what they're.
I mean, becoming EA. How often do we do we criticize EA for being cash grabbing? You're right, Joe. You're right. Everything they're doing from a business standpoint is great. But as a consumer, what this does to me is I don't feel like this company values me as a person. Which, okay, fine.
They don't. They don't.
Okay.
They don't.
All right. Then we can agree that what they're doing is All right. Okay.
So why would we want to play a game that doesn't value us as people?
Exactly.
I don't want to play a game like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the point is, like, do you want to have a game where you sub for 1 month, maybe 2 months, every patch cycle, and then tune out? Like, that's not the kind of game that we want to have, and that's why we're saying
it hurts.
This
it hurts
sucks.
my heart. It hurts my heart in two different ways. I'll make another analogy. It does suck, and I'll speak specifically from my perspective right now. So for me, like, from somebody that literally spent $3,000 to travel in the year of 2015 and 2016 to attend every single Square-Enix point of contact at every Penny Arcade Expo, at E3, at Final Fantasy 15 Uncovered. I came out of pocket to make sure that I was visible and promoting Final Fantasy 14 in every single way I possibly could. I was invited out to Final Fantasy 14 Fan Fest Las Vegas to announce the PvP tournament, and for the consideration for the media tour for Final Fantasy 14, I never got an email, I never got a message, and all my points of inquiry have been ignored. So for me personally, like, I see where it's going, and it hurts me.
Yeah.
It hurts my heart, and it honestly makes me want to play other games.
Joe,
it makes me want to go out and play other games.
Yoshi wants you to play other games.
And Joe, this is the thing, is that we experienced the exact same fucking thing when this was a Final Fantasy 11 show.
You and I are not so different.
Right.
That's where I agree with you guys 100%. So for me, I know that it's a sour feeling. It's somewhat it's like looking at the world through rose-colored glasses, but I'm still going to remain hopeful because I think this video game has the potential to explode. And if it does, I know that we're going to see a lot more content in the future. So for me, like, all this new stuff catering to the casuals, catering to new players, it's going to be good. It's still not going to make them better. I'm still going to be a hardcore PvE and still play PvP at a higher level. So I'm still going to keep doing my thing.
I can tell you, though, there's a lot of veteran players like you, like us, who are playing because we see the potential in the game. And I think that Stormblood, I think that Stormblood has that this is their make or break, honestly. Like, we're all like, oh, Heaven's Word, they need to change it, and they didn't. The raid, I mean, they even made it with the normal mode, but even still, they made the raid cycle was the same bullshit of the 8-man, 24-man, 8-man, 24-man bullshit. And it seems like it's going to be more of the same. Now, maybe the battle changes will be enough to make it feel new and fun for us. Who knows? We don't know that at this point in time, but I think that even though the veteran player base that still plays is very small, and the veteran player base that's going to come back is very small, if Stormblood does not change, we will see a huge falling off despite the big sub increase we will see at launch. I feel like that the reason we're all still here is because we see the potential. But the question is, does Square-Enix see the potential, and will they act on it? And if that's the case, do they give a shit about any of their players beyond the people who are subbing day one?
And my point has, and I totally agree with that assessment, Nika. And my point has been, given the amount of decisions that we know about right now, all signs point to fucking no. All signs point to they don't care about retaining their long-term player base. And again, I think the mistake here is not specifically because I have such an emotional investment in FF14. I think that that's a fundamental business mistake for any MMO that has been out on the market for 4+ years. Sorry. It just is. And whether like, I would say that same shit about EverQuest if they made the same decision. It's just, we don't sit around and talk about the other dumb decisions that MMOs make. When Elder Scrolls, right? Like, I thought when Elder Scrolls Online went free to play, that was going to be a really bad decision for them. I've been wrong. Like, dude, I've been wrong tons of times. It actually did show a pretty big and significant short-term turning around for them, and they've been able to make that game into something that people really enjoy playing. And what I see happening here with FF14 is the reverse of that we're sort of whittling this down to, where it'll only appeal to 17 people in the entire world, while trying to appeal to everyone. Because when you try to appeal to everyone, you appeal to no one.
Yes, and when everyone's special, nobody is, and that's right. That's the biggest thing that I wanted to come in and chime in earlier. Shit playing in the background from YouTube. When everybody's special, nobody is, and everybody's universal, and everybody gets a medal for just participation, whatever it is. But the last point I got to make before I run out of here, I got to go to a barbecue.
Yeah, no problem.
It's all good. I really appreciate the time. The last point I'll try to make is the big turnaround for Elder Scrolls Online was One Tamriel. And One Tamriel was another move exactly like this right here, where they made the game that they made every single area in the game sync to your level, and you could play with anybody, anytime, anywhere. And that made it and catered to casual players that weren't locked by area, and they could play with anybody in the game. And it opened up huge amounts of opportunities in terms of the community and accessibility, and that was a big move for them. So I would say, honestly, not the free to play aspect, but the fundamental change in development where they made the game accessible to more people.
Yeah,
was one of the big things that made Elder Scrolls a difference. I got to run right now.
Yeah, no.
Thank you guys for real. I love you guys so much, and I'm so proud of y'all.
Joe.
I'm so proud of y'all for busting your ass. There's a new community of people that are watching Final Fantasy XIV, and the effort and the time that you guys have put into your broadcast and the effort and time that you guys put into your community is going to be paying off huge. I'm so happy to see you guys doing well, and I love you so much.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you so much. And, for as much as we may disagree and it may get contentious and we may yell at each other, there is always still love when it comes down to Limit Break Radio and JNF. Make sure that you check him out, twitch.tv/JoeNeverFails. Go over, follow him, subscribe to him. He's doing excellent stream content. Again, twitch.tv/JoeNeverFails. And something that I wanted to, double back on from the chat here is Lord Poundcake saying, hey, Aniero, other than your own money, why should Square Enix care about us veterans? And my point is that the veterans, the ones who are still here, as Nika had pointed out, have been the ones that are largely continuing their sub.
We're the biggest cheerleaders for the game, too. We're the ones
absolutely.
sitting here, like Joe's saying, too. We're the ones sitting here streaming, trying to advertise the game. Every time I go to a fucking convention and people are talking to me, I bust out the fact that I play 14. Do you play? What server are you on? You should play. Let me tell you why. Here's all the fun things about the game. Like, I've been playing since 1.0, and I'm one of the biggest cheerleaders of the game. But when I think about the things I'm excited for, it's literally Samurai and the battle changes. When I'm thinking about the end game content or things that veteran players actually that I do with my friends and with my husband on the game, none of that is what's exciting me right now.
And the thing is
I just don't know where this is going to go.
I'm not, and the thing is we're not speaking from the perspective of people who think that Square Enix needs to be reaching out to us directly or interacting with us. We're fine. Like this is not a personal axe to grind where we're like, Square Enix is ignoring us. Like
we know they're not going to talk to us ever.
Like
we're fine with that.
And that's the thing, yeah, like Joe had pointed out that he's really gone to great lengths to really make himself available to Square Enix, and Square Enix has not really kind of taken that opportunity, and that's fine. Like, and again, we had said during the 11 days, we knew that. Like, that's why when we brought this show back for FF14, we said, well, okay, we don't really give a shit about what Square Enix thinks about the show. Even again, thank you for Square Enix for allowing us to do the show and not sending your lawyers after us. But at the same time, like, why should we give a shit about what they think? Let's just throw our opinions out there, regardless of if Square Enix thinks that this is going to be the best point of view to sell more copies of their game or not. They don't do shit for us. They're not helping us pay our bills. So why the fuck should we do that? And that's why you have the objectiveness of this show. Like, I think, when other people, go and listen to FF14 shows out there, I one of the things that I hear a lot is like, you guys just tell it like it is. Like, yeah, it may be salty a lot of the time, but it is honest. Like, you're telling me how a change or something makes you feel, and I think that that's valuable, more so than contorting yourself or finding all manner of reasons to justify why the company would make that decision. You're trying to make excuses for a company instead of talking about the real organic aspect of the community. The community is the thing that I find interesting, not Square Enix. I could give a fuck about Square Enix because clearly Square Enix doesn't give a fuck about me. So why should
you being a player?
Right, exactly. Not a media commentator, not a podcast host, not a community figure, but me as a player. And again, why should Square Enix care about the vets? Because we have been the ones who for 4 years, in good times and in bad, have been holding on to the subscription in the hopes that the game will improve. And I think that, Nika, you're really right. You hit the nail on the head, that as soon as veteran players find out that they're not going to be really even supported or thought about by Square Enix in this expansion cycle, and that they find out that the content is virtually interchangeable from what we had in Heaven's Word and subsequently A Realm Reborn. I think you're right, Nika. You're going to see those people who have just been kind of hanging on because they love the game or they love the idea of the game. They're going to fall off, and that includes folks like us. And that sucks to admit, and that sucks to be honest about. But that's honestly what I see happening moving forward, and that's what. Trying to, and I'm not saying cater the entire game to your veteran player base. I'm saying give us more than the same shit that you've been giving us. That's my problem.
You have to make the veterans excited to play your game.
Yes. As much as you're trying to entice new people in.
Don't make us have to play your
their
game
answer
for
is
tombstones.
Come
Make
back
it so
to
we want to
Vanity,
play
come
your
back
game.
to Eorzea, the comeback campaigns where you get to play for one free weekend.
You're going to see a lot more of those during Stormblood. Telling you right now.
But that's their answer to bring veteran players back is, hey, you get to play one weekend for free to see what more of the team.
That's going to be disastrous because they're going to see everything your game has to offer in that one weekend.
And it's going to be the same fucking thing.
And,
and
they're
that's
going to come
happening.
back and see more of the same, and they're going to not resub.
Yeah. And that's the frustrating thing. And I understand. Look, there are people in the chat who are newer to the game. They don't understand where this burnout or where this frustration is coming from. The
game is great. We love playing this game, but we've played all of this game.
And we played it again for Heaven's Word, and now we're going to have to play it again for Stormblood. And again, when it's the retread of the same thing, there's new patterns that you got to memorize. That's it.
They're replacing dragons with weeaboos. That's it.
What?
Heaven's Word was about
dragons, and now
Stormblood is about weeaboos.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, no, look, I agree, and this whole idea, like you guys are sitting here when I compared SC to basically being EA now. Oh, well, they're a business, of course that's what they're supposed to do. But there is such thing as people believing in the businesses or the companies that they support. Okay?
Not only that, but there's a difference between a good business decision and what looks good on paper and what's going to increase your bottom line, and then there's the actual sociology involved with the way that people end up spending their money. Because again, this all kind of in a circular way, this all kind of hinges on the fact that, look, we're still paying $12 a month to be able to have access to this game.
25.
We're still playing, we're still paying every single month to have access to this game. And at some point, dude, I'm going to tell you right now, subscriber burn is going to be a real thing. For as much as the bubble around Twitch is going to burst, the bubble around everything being a subscription, a $4.99 subscription, that's also going to burst as well. Because at some point, people are going to realize, I'm getting hit for $200 a month because of the Amazon Prime subscription, the Netflix subscription, the 2 MMOs that I'm playing,
not playing.
Not playing in this case. And then you have video game companies who are coming to you with hands open going, microtrans.
You gotta get them skim boxes.
You want to, they dangle that out there, hey, you want to get ahead? You don't want to spend as much time having to grind? Here, microtrans ahead of it. It's fucking scummy. At some point,
it's good business.
You know what? I'm sure that they see tons of money from it. I'm sure that they do, but. You know what?
That's not short-term business.
It's not going to last.
That's what it is. You talk about giving all this money to these big streamers like Lyric, right? To play your game, to get a few people to play. If you were to take that money instead, invest it into a bigger development team so that you can make content for both the casual and the hardcore people, you ever stop to think that if you're keeping all of your players happy, they will stick around, then they will bring people in who will probably stick around instead of the few people that Lyric bring in that don't stick around.
Or maybe, just maybe, Lyric will want to play your game for free because he wants to play your
it's a good game. Because it's a fucking good game. Maybe that. Maybe.
Spoiler alert: Lyric plays games and doesn't get paid for them. Sometimes.
Maybe if you made the game good in the first place, you wouldn't have to spend money to get people to play it. Oh my God! Think of that.
Look,
that requires brain cells.
I think back to when I was playing FF11, or even when I'm playing WoW, the amount of effort that I put into trying to get other people to play. I've done that twice for Final Fantasy XIV, and the most recent one, I started to convince them, and then a few days later, I'm like, maybe not. I don't want them to hate me for this.
Maybe wait a month.
Yeah.
But see, I know a bunch of new players. Like, I have some real life friends that I actually kind of convinced to get the game, and then she convinced her sister to play, and they're actually having a whole lot of fun leveling up and doing dungeons and Palace of the Dead and all that stuff. Like, they're enjoying it. So I'm also
that's fine, but they're also being exposed to this shit very recently. Yeah. And it is fun. Like it's real.
That there is still enough content for new players to enjoy.
Yes.
Two things. One,
So
why not let why introduce the jump potion if the new players are still enjoying this current new player content? And two is why not focus on the end game players if the new players have stuff to do already?
Because it's not about the journey anymore, Nika. And again, this is the fundamental design philosophy that I really dislike. Is that it's not about the journey. It's not about the the path that you end up taking and the choices that you make. No. It's now about the choices that the developer makes for you. And the way that they respond to your criticism. That's bullshit.
And I think you did hit the nail on the head with the Steps of Faith nerf, because when I look back on it now, the Steps of Faith pre-nerf was the last time I remember somebody helping someone with something just to help for no other reason.
Yep.
Like, there were people who were sitting around...
Making classes easier to play extends the longevity of most players' subscriptions and also allows for them to expand on the mechanical aspects of raid bosses without worrying about introducing artificial difficulty such as Gordius.
Look, a lot of the decisions that they're making on their own, you're right, that's not a big deal. Making the classes easier here. Homogenizing there. Adding a fucking boost potion. Each of those things all by themselves, there's nothing wrong with them individually. But the point is, when you look at the way that Square-Enix has been changing things and making things easier, and concession after concession after concession...
And we're not getting anything in exchange for it either.
All of that development time is going to making things easier to bring new people in. Could you imagine the type of game that we would have right now if all of the development time was spent on more dungeons, more raid bosses, varied mechanics? I mean, when you look at the way that these raids are, 4 bosses in circle rooms, and then you look at something like World of Warcraft that in a single patch gives you 12 bosses in a place that looks like it could be an actual zone. I don't understand how you can think that giving all of this development time to things like crossovers out of Yoshi-P's own mouth. Doing a crossover would take 1.5 years of development. What the fuck?
Not only, you know what? Here's another thing that kind of irks me. Okay, is that we made the concession of like, yeah, okay, fine, put the cash shop. Like we compartmentalized the outrage from the cash shop. Most of us, and I'm speaking as a player base, not as the show, but as a player base, we mostly compartmentalized the reaction to the cash shop because the justification was, look, this is going to allow us to be able to make a better game. It's been 1.5 years. We've had the cash shop in. We've accepted that concession. Where is the better game that I was promised? We have to make more economic concessions. Your players have to buy more shit for you to like think that you can make a better game. We're already giving you shit for mounts and minions and hairstyles and fucking, I don't even know what else is in the fucking cash shop. Die, whatever. Okay, we've already given you money for that on the idea that this game was going to get better. Where's the better part? I just see more concessions to try to attract people to play this game that are not me. And fine, if you want to say, oh, well, that's really a selfish way to look at it, Aniero. Well, ask yourself how much money you've spent just in subscriptions alone for this game.
We get to be a little selfish when we're spending money on the game. With a subscription fee on the game.
Yes, when the ask that the developer is making of you is to spend every month money on their game, then guess what? I think I get to kind of contextualize where I fit in to that development plan, because guess what? That's an investment. I'm making an investment in the future of this game. And if I think that this is bullshit, man, guess what? I vote with my feet. I'll take my money and go somewhere else. That's just the truth. And I don't think that I'm alone. Like, that's the problem, is that I'm not trying to raise the banners and say, oh, well, you know what, guys, I guess we should all quit FF14 now. I'm just making my own personal fucking decisions based on what Square-Enix is doing. And I don't think that I'm alone.
No, let's look at Bill Murray's call earlier, saying that you guys are voicing opinions that need to be heard.
Well, you can have the opposite opinion and still
of course you
find
can.
value in this discussion, which
Sure.
which we hope that all 500 people that are watching right now would, obviously do. And that's the thing, is that, these conversations are really important, especially because, this is a community built and based game. Like, the community, you guys can be like, well, we as a community, we can only really just accept what Square Enix hands down. Well, no, you don't have to, because you're the economic engine that drives this game. And if they lose you, they're going to be losing other people too. I mean, maybe I can't see the forest beyond the trees, and maybe that's on me. But I think objectively, when fucking these magic server numbers that Square Enix puts out, I don't know where those exist. But you can.
There wasn't a blog post about it.
I was gonna say, I've never seen server numbers, but I do remember a chart that showed the percentage of people and the number that cleared certain.
And I remember a third-party website that was tracking the number of logins. Yeah, exactly. But that information straight up does not come from Square Enix. They don't tell us what subscription numbers are. They fudge them. They say, 5 million players have subscribed. No, they're not.
5 million accounts.
At one point or another.
Those 5 million characters.
5 million
all the alts and random bullshit. I have like 5 characters. Do I play any of the other ones? No.
Exactly. So we know that Square Enix is totally comfortable fudging those numbers. And, and they don't, and they withhold them. Like, it's not like we get, monthly server updates on how many people are logging in. We just don't. And the only thing that we have to judge by is what we see in front of us when we log in. And what I see when I log in is not encouraging. The numbers of people that are logged in and doing stuff is not encouraging. And I don't think, and I'm not just speaking to right now either.
As a player that bought into the first iteration of FFXIV, this game has gotten a lot better. I've been a sub since launch, and I agree with you on the veteran content. I, however, think the big draw to this is story. It's what brings me in. Lots to consider.
No, it's true. The story's incredibly compelling and incredibly good. But
which is why you want to jump potion it.
But that's right. Like, but again, like, I can play single-player games for their story. That's not why I want to play an MMO. I agree that the story is good, and the story is a critical thing for my enjoyment. But
1 week.
It's not the reason that I log in. It's not the reason that I keep playing. And I don't want that to be the compelling reason moving forward why I'm logging in or playing. And yet, somehow, I'm the asshole.
I don't know, but I will say that if the story sucked, I probably would stop playing. Because I want both. I wanted the story. Why is it one or the other? Why is it good story and boring gameplay, or boring story and good gameplay? Why can't we have both?
Well, and that's the thing, is that there is literally no reason that you can't have both. It's kind of just it's like lightning in a bottle when you get both. You know what I mean? Most people try for that. Like, that's the attempt that most people make when they make a video game. But very few video games actually achieve that status.
I mean, they did in 2.0.
They had a lot of praise in 2.0. There's a lot of praise going around for this game in 2.0, and the way that they turned it around from 1.0.
Because look at the shit pile that 1.0 was.
Yep.
Well, no, because look, I didn't judge 2.0 by the merits of 1.0. I judged it by the merits of 2.0. And 2.0 is very good.
Yeah.
You can listen back to the old LBRs. You can listen to how hype and excited I was for this game.
Right. And again, this is more emblematic of the fact that we know what we're going to be getting moving forward. That there's like kind of no surprise that's going to be coming down the pike for
Juxta, you played 1.0. You weren't impressed with the game. Yeah. So when 2.0 came back around, I started playing it first. You weren't playing it at first.
No.
What brought you to actually play Final Fantasy XIV?
Well, I had a friend, and he really enjoyed the game, and he was the one who said, you need to play this game. It's actually good again. So I started playing, and then suddenly I'm paying $25 a month for about 3 years now.
Yeah, if you weren't playing right now, I guarantee you I would not be able to get you to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Square Enix, And just invest in your veterans. They will bring new people in for you.
Again,
I mean, that is true. Like, your veterans are your biggest cheerleaders, and I don't think they realize that. If like we're here and we are saying either no, the game shit, don't play it, or we're saying yes, it's so much fucking fun, you should play it every second of your day. Like, we can be that advertising for you if you just let us.
Word of mouth works.
I think
it works both ways.
You know what? I'm going to say word of mouth, specifically for an MMO, is way more compelling of a reason for someone to pick up the game than if they were being marketed to, than if they saw
an ad on the TV.
FF14 or Stormblood at fucking WrestleMania, right?
Or Lyric playing it.
Right, exactly. Yes, exactly. And that's what is so frustrating about this, is that this is just discounting what you already have. You're discounting the people that you already have. It's fucking ugh. Let's go back to our phone lines and talk to Orpheus Hidnear. What's up, Orpheus?
I'm doing good. How's everybody doing today?
Sweaty.
Besides this heated conversation.
Yeah, well, it's hot in the studio too, believe me.
I can imagine so. Anyway, I just wanted to call in because I didn't have an opportunity to call in last week. Was working, and now I'm working today, but I got a few minutes. I noticed the complete evisceration of the weebs last week.
Oh, you noticed that, huh?
That was so good.
They're still butthurt. Oh yeah, and I noticed a bit of that sprinkled into this show here and there. But I do want to point out I'm very disappointed. Very disappointed.
Oh,
because I do not recall hearing the most important thing about the weeps.
What is that?
I do not. Of all the things that were covered, I cannot believe that we are going to miss the Weeb Lord. We are going to miss over the fact that Xenos is clearly dressed in his shitty Raiden cosplay out of a revengeance. He went to Doma to play that game, and then he decided, I'm gonna get all dressed up. I'm gonna use that big old holster to do them super samurai skills and stuff. And then he got kicked out because everybody like, we don't want this otaku weeb shit in here. Get this the fuck out.
What the fuck are you talking about?
You deserve bubble baths. Also,
it's clearly
hair looks nice.
He's clearly a weeb lord.
No, I'm looking at pictures of him right now, and his outfit looks nothing like Raiden. What the fuck are you talking about?
Hence the shitty part.
Raiden is a ninja, Xenos is a samurai. Those are also very different.
I'm gonna
one is very good, the other one is a samurai.
I'm gonna support Orpheus. I'm gonna support Orpheus in this headcanon that the reason that Xenos is kind of an outsider in the Garlean Empire is because everyone just knows he's a weeb. that like when you see his room, right? Like we've seen him in the throne room, but when you see his room, it's just covered in fucking wall scrolls and he's got two entire cabinets that have all of his DVDs and VHS for all of his anime and hentai. By the way, the anime and hentai are organized separately. Everything is alphabetical and everything is labeled and cataloged. I think that would honestly, that would make me hate Xenos more than anything else that he could do in the game. Yoshi-P was very clear that we are supposed to hate Xenos. Like, he is supposed to drive that heat. And I think that, if you made him a weeb, that would drive the heat so much.
Your average $25.30 a month on subscriptions, Fantasias and retainers doesn't compare to tens or hundreds of $15 subs. Please look forward to it.
Please look forward to it.
We can't have an individual opinion because more people. Wait, what?
No. But
he's basically saying you are a little tiny needle in a haystack of a million people.
And I don't like. Is your point that that because because the comparative amount of money that's coming in with cash shopped items is less than your sub money, that we can just simply ignore it as a promise that was dangled out to us that would make the game better? That we're just supposed to discount that. Oh, well, naturally, it's not going to bring as many as subscription. It's not going to bring as much money as subscription costs do. Of course, it's not. Of course, it's not. All of that money was supposed to be icing on the cake to make this shit better, and instead, what we get is marketing. Get fucking WrestleMania. That's what I take umbrage with. That's what I get fucking worked up about. Is that like there have been countless times where they've said, we've made this decision because it's good for business and it's going to allow us to make the game that we want. Is this the game that you wanted? That it's hitting us up for fucking money again and again and again? Fucking A, man. Again, this is why free-to-play decisions come along with something like this. Is because if you're going to try to entice the most amount of people into playing your game, fuck it. Stop making them pay for it. Because that is... people become very critical of your product as soon as they have to pay every month for it. Anyway, we got sidetracked off of the weebiness and kind of knocked off of how weeby is or isn't Xenos. I think if you just make him a weeb, you end up driving all of that aggression.
And I really like the idea that like he was sent out to either Othard or Mordorna or whatever, because everyone in Garlemald's like, nah, get that otaku out of here. We don't want to fucking deal with his ass.
Yes, I like that. Thanks for the call, Orpheus. We appreciate it. If you want to call Limit Break Radio, we're kind of getting close to the end of the show here. Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. We haven't gotten through nearly all of these changes that are coming, but the thing is I think that this discussion is way more valuable than going over the notes that you could sit around and watch a producer live letter to get to get an explanation of. And again, if you are walking away from this episode confused.
Such a great conversation today. I would like to send the team a gift. Where do I have Papa John to deliver the 4 large pineapple pizzas?
Shut up, you little weasel!
Oh, don't
get the fuck out of here!
I'm not even going to defend the pineapple because Papa John's made me sick, so I'm not even.
Yeah,
not even.
That's the thing.
That's a little bit.
See, that's the thing is, and I made reference to this earlier, and this is, I didn't want to get too tinfoil hat with shit just yet, but I want to. I mean, this seems like a pretty good time as any, but I gotta say, like, the fact that Square Enix put this producer live letter on a Monday, I really I feel like that was done to minimize.
Well, hold on, that's been done
minimize
before.
the outrage.
Wait, no, it's never been done.
It's never been done before.
Never.
To be fair, they were in what, Korea? They were somewhere else.
Korea?
Yeah, they were somewhere else where they
I thought they were in Europe
with all of the Japanese buildings and the Asian-inspired buildings behind them. Where were they? Fucking where would they have been?
Chinatown,
Germany.
They were in Germany?
Everyone's saying Germany.
Really?
That's what the chat says.
Okay, fine. Fuck it. Whatever.
Stupid idiot. Listen to Jux. He's right.
Well, Taro, the reason that we're pointing out a specific day is we think that they did it specifically
to minimize the reaction, so that you guys would have 6 days to sit on this and figure out how you really feel.
Come to terms with it.
Yeah,
right.
and the thing is, we know, just from how much Square Enix has been talking about it, we know that this decision was probably made long ago.
Remember when they were like, maybe we'll do it in the 5th expansion? That was a thing that was said at one point, right?
Yeah, maybe. And the thing is they remained totally non-committal to the idea of jump potions right until 4 weeks before the release of the fucking expansion.
Especially because when they said something about jump
underhand.
potions before, they're like, well, it'll probably come, but not right at release. It'll come after release.
Fucking horseshit. No, you're putting it there at early access, you fucking...
Where are you, bitch?
Fucking assholes. Like, that's the thing, is that if Square Enix had any amount of balls, and they actually cared about the dialogue or the discussion between them and their community, which they've claimed to care. I don't think that they do care. But if they did, they would have announced this discussion, or they would have announced this decision at the very first FanFest. And they would have bared the brunt of the reaction from their player base and gotten a very good idea on just how many people are alienated by a choice like this. And you know what? If all of you in the chat that have been trying to shout me down the entire fucking time and say that, oh, well, you don't know what you're talking about, you're dumb. If Square Enix really wanted to find out what the reaction was from their player base, they should have put it out there then, because that's your most dedicated player base, the people who are at FanFest.
Yeah.
And they didn't. They chose not to.
They put it at the end of the big, giant, awesome battle changes that everyone's hyped about.
Yes.
So that hopefully they don't notice the jump potion.
It's fucking horse shit. That's a cowardly decision.
I mean, you guys could talk about jump potions, but you've already talked about jump potions for like 8 months prior. So instead, look at these new shiny battle things that you're really excited about.
Changes.
We had 3 fucking episodes about jump potions, and that was not what we had set out to talk about. That was
not by choice.
That was through taking calls and hearing how pissed off people were at the idea.
Square Enix listens to this show. They know what everyone felt about jump potions.
No, well, I mean, just, blanketly saying that everyone felt the same way, I think is a little bit disingenuous.
But we got a lot of phone calls and emails that agreed with us.
Overwhelming amount of emails and phone calls about
Pops,
it.
and all your infinite old person wisdom, are jump potions good?
No.
See? There you go.
A resounding no.
This is so dismaying, because I think, again, we come down to a philosophical, break in philosophy where, I understand the decisions and the logic behind what Square Enix is doing. And my point is that I think it's not going to pay off for them long term. And all of us should care about this if we want to keep playing this game long term. If you don't, then you're exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. If you don't care about the long-term viability of this game, then guess what? Square Enix really cares about what you think. Square Enix really gives a shit about you. They want to keep you. They want you to spend your money with them instead of the people who have been spending their money with them. I mean, doesn't that just feel like a slap in the fucking face?
I never would have thought, I'm going to go back to something I mentioned earlier, I never would have thought that something like a crossover event, which is literally just a few armors, would take a year and a half to develop, okay?
It's because it doesn't.
So something like the jump potion, how much development time must have went into that? To have to go through and, figure out how to flag all these different quests for people as complete. Guess what? It probably didn't take as a little bit of time as what we would think it did, because Square Enix has huge fucking roundabout ways of doing stuff. That's the biggest thing that I'm upset with about the jump potion. I don't fucking care if you use a jump potion. But the fact that the majority of what I've seen, people don't want it, and they're wasting development time on stuff that we don't seem to want.
Yeah. That's the problem. And that's going to continue. That's not going to get any better. That's not going to change. Square Enix had the ability to change it up with Stormblood and say, we're going to set a different set of expectations with this new expansion. And they didn't. They chose not to. They just simply chose not to, in favor of doing the thing that's easy, that they think will get the biggest returns for them in the short term. And I'm going to tell you, I'm telling you right now, that's not going to end up working out. It's just not. It never has. Only with World of Warcraft has that ever worked out. And that's because they had the fucking 10 million people to be able to absorb that decrease. Every other game, every other MMO that's tried to pull this shit off has buried themselves because of it. And they've had to make huge sweeping changes to either the way that they do business or the way that the game is developed to be able to gain that ground back. I mean, Square Enix did something that no other video game development company has ever done in the history of video games. They put out an MMO that was so terribly received and revived it. That doesn't happen.
Okay, so there you go. They fucking saved it, they brought it back to life, and they can fucking take life away from it.
And
you brought me into this world, you can take me out of it.
But it's the same decision. Like that's the problem, is that it's the entrenched thinking that all of us have reached our breaking point and our exasperation point with. That's what we're tired of. You can call it the treadmill, you can call it whatever you want.
Tombstone grind.
But that's what it is. It's the monotony of doing the same shit over and over and over again. And at least with other MMOs, they would try to add some variety or break that up a little bit. We're not getting that here.
Mm-mm.
And every development decision that they have set in front of us tells us that. We can see that from what they've outlined here. I don't know about you.
You know what?
I don't know about you, but that depresses me.
Darren Gen, if 6 months from now we're happy with the game, we will absolutely admit that we were wrong.
Absolutely.
And that we were complaining about nothing and upset about nothing. I hope that happens, man.
Again, dude, you're not going to find a bigger defender of this game than me.
Please let us eat crow.
I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong on all of this.
We want to like this game again.
And again,
that's why we sit here for 3 hours every single week trying to find fun in this game. If we weren't invested in this game, you wouldn't be hearing us right now.
Right.
We'd leave.
We have other shows, man. We've got other stuff that we can do. We've got other opportunities that we could pursue if we really wanted to. Dude, it's the enthusiasm and the love for this community and for this game that keeps us here every week. I mean, and your support at Patreon too, but again, like if we sat around and worried about what kind of hit this episode was going to make us receive on Patreon,
which, by the way, we have the most viewers right now that we've ever had
on Twitch,
ever.
So just as a point of reference, but if we were going to make that decision, right, that would be pretty close to what Square-Enix is doing. Is they're like, fuck the people who have been, who have been floating us. We're going to do what is safe. And if we made that same decision, you would not have heard half of the criticisms on this episode that you heard today. You wouldn't. We wouldn't have the will to be able to go up against Square-Enix. And that I think that's dismaying, that Square-Enix as a company will in turn not bother to give a shit what their long-term player base thinks, and not to make decisions that they think are going to be the best, for the gameplay or for the game design, but making the decisions that's going to net them the most money. It's cynical. And again, if we did that, you would not see the ability to comment or criticize that we have. We say what's on our mind for Limit Break Radio, for all of our shows. We say what's on our mind, and if someone doesn't like it and they're a supporter, fine, bye. If you didn't like this show, if you didn't like this episode, and if you think that we're just beating up on FF14 and Square-Enix the whole fucking time, and you're a supporter, you give us money, and you want to take that back, bye. I don't give a shit. I don't care. And it's not because I don't care about you. It's because I have expressed my honest opinions about where this game has to move to be able to move forward. That's a fundamental part of this show. If we don't do that, we break one of the core tenets of this show that we had set up for ourselves. And that is to just always be real. To give you what we think is the best, is our opinion, our best opinion as FF14 players. Again, not as community representatives, not as anything except long-term invested FF14 players. That's it. That's all we bring to the table. We're not experts. We've never claimed to be experts. We're not even, you know what, for some people who don't even like this, we're not even good entertainers. And that's fine. I'll accept that criticism. I don't give a shit. But we do this.
We're not even good at the game.
No, we're not.
I promise you, we are probably one of the worst people that you could play. Kahlo, case in point.
Exactly.
His DPS is going to go up from Shadowfang giving slashing debuff.
But straight up, if we were not honest with you guys on what we think about Stormblood or what we think about the future direction of this game, okay, I don't think 500 people would be listening right now, right? Why are almost 500 people listening right now? Why,
Please look forward to more transparency, not from the development team, but from the Mog Station marketing team.
God damn
Thank you.
Yoshi-P. Yoshi-P's bringing it, man. He's real.
Making it rain.
It's hilarious. But seriously, fine. You want to disagree? That's fine. You can disagree. I'm not going to care if you take your money away. That's fine. You can take your money away. It's fine. It's, we'll survive. We'll get to the other side of it. And if Square-Enix thinks that they can take that same that same approach to fuck it, take your money away, we don't really give a shit, then you would at least hope that the decisions that they were making would be best for their game. Would be, decisions like absolute virtue. And we're not going to tell you how to fucking do that. You figure that shit out yourself.
Oh, you figured it out? We're going to change it now.
Right. Right? This is a vastly different development company from the one that we used to deal with. And I'm not saying that I want the old one back. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that
maybe we should have a middle ground between not caring about your player base at all and caring so much that you're willing to give us blowjobs just to keep us around.
Yeah, kind of. or that you're willing to shell out money to someone like fucking Lyric or JP to try to attract people around this game. Man, that fucking that whole pay to play, we'll pay you to play our game. That whole fucking model is just disgusting. And you know what? For that, I hold streamers accountable. I hold Lyric accountable. I hold JP accountable. Because you know what? You have other ways that you can make your nut. You got other ways that you can try to build your business and create a valuable space. If they were making actual valuable real estate, companies would be coming in and buying ad time. And they're not. They're not. That's kind of...
Okay, so they're not, so they have to get their money where they can.
Yeah.
You can't fault them for that.
Yeah, I can.
Well, you're wrong.
I mean, it just any of their opinions about the game are suspect. Because
of course. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Why should I, as an audience member, continue to trust them? On any
you shouldn't.
On any of their opinions on any game, across the board.
But they get paid, so that's all that really matters in the end.
Okay. So fucking Dark Age Camelot approaches us and wants to pay us to pay Limit Break Radio to do a stream.
How much?
I mean,
I don't think they're gonna like what we say.
Yeah, what? That's the thing, is that there's a very specific amount of guidelines that you got to follow to be able to make good on that offer.
Oh, then they're probably not going to give me the money.
No.
No.
And that's the difference. That's the difference between someone like us, like Limit Break Radio, and these fucking Twitch whores. You know what? I don't ever want to hear another big-boobed, attractive girl referred to as a Twitch whore. I want Twitch whore to be specifically reserved for motherfuckers like Lyric and JP. That's what I want. That's what I want. Can we make that happen, community? Can we just strike the idea of Twitch whores as anything to do with women and only talk about these motherfuckers who sell themselves up the river to say nice things about a video game that they couldn't even give a shit about? Because that is whore-ish to me. Fuck it. Fuck them. I'm so tired of this shit, man.
You're not alone.
I'm tired of this shit. This is not the fucking video game industry that I remember. That actually used to care at least once in a while about what their community had to say and would genuinely respond to that shit. Doesn't happen anymore. It's done.
I miss Squaresoft.
Did it ever really happen in the first place, though?
I think it did. I mean, yes.
I mean, because when I look at 14 now and look at what 11 was with Tanaka, I would say this is much more listening to the community and caring about what we think than Tanaka ever did. Whether or not it's to the level we want, it's definitely an improvement.
Is it though? Is overreactions better than making a decision and sticking to it? I'll tell you what. I have developed an appreciation for Tanaka in the time that we've been able to spend with Yoshi-P as our lead developer. I'm going to tell you, dude, the spell that Yoshi-P has weaved around all of you guys, that's broken for me, man. That's broken. I guess. I'm not going to sit here and be a sycophant for Yoshi-P any longer. Yeah, he pulled this game out of the gutter, and then he did it. He's doing the same fucking thing over and over again. You're a one-trick pony then. Cool. Nice legacy. Yeah, I have more appreciation for Tanaka today than ever. Not saying that he made a good game,
but there can still be an appreciation.
But I appreciate his development attitude. It's a little bit like mine. Yeah, don't like it, go fuck yourself.
That's fair.
Yoshi-P's not doing that. He's like, if you don't like it, we'll change it in 3 months. Game. We'll change it in 3 months. That's what it is.
We'll nerf it.
Yeah. Even if he says, like, yeah, you guys got to do a better job at this, then they go and they remove cleric stance. Right? Right? Right?
God.
He's like, how do you in this, I'm
not going to make any judgments on that until we see
fucking Yoshi-P goes, you know what, healers, you need to get good.
Except
and then totally does away with the mechanic that forces them to get good.
Oh, by the way,
I don't know.
You can hit 100%.
If I still see any healers that don't even have to stay in stance and still don't DPS, I don't even know what the hell.
They're not going to.
Well,
Nika,
no, at that
but
point,
there's no reason not to at that point. They don't even have to hit another button.
Nika, at that point, what they're going to do is whenever you heal someone, it then does damage to the boss.
God, get out with your crackpot ideas.
God damn. So I'm just exasperated. As a fan, I'm exasperated.
End the show on a downer mood.
Let's read a fanfic.
None of us have the super optimism of, based on their track record and based on what we know. However, we don't know much.
Can we do a fanfic as a palate cleanser?
So no.
Aniero.
I mean, if you
we can, but
I mean, you can't.
We have something a little bit more important before that. If we have time for it, we have a caller on the line.
Oh, do we?
Yeah, we have good old Shinjima of Genova.
What's up, Shinjima?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Shinjima, thank you for calling in.
Thanks for calling the show. What's up?
Hey, so I wanted to talk about sort of rewind the conversation a little bit about. First of all, if you do a survey. I'll jump right into it. If you do a survey, and if you ask WoW players, people who play MMORPGs, and they hop between them all, I guarantee you the number one reason why they say they're not going to play Final Fantasy XIV is because of the global cooldown. And
interesting.
Really?
Interesting.
I guarantee, because Lyric doesn't want to play. I was watching his streams. And he was talking about 14. He said, look, the combat is too slow. I don't want to play it. I played 2.5 second GCD is not fun for me. That's the main reason.
Can I ask you a really quick question about the qualifier? You said people who have played multiple MMOs. What's an acceptable number of MMOs to have played to fit into this demographic that you're talking about?
Well, I mean,
4?
I'm thinking they played all the major ones.
Okay,
like
so let's say Guild Wars 2, WoW, FF11, FF14. Is that
they check about
sample size?
Yeah.
Yeah,
because I've played all of those, and I'm sticking with FF14.
Well, okay, I personally don't have a problem. Me personally, I don't have a problem with the combat in 14, just because I know how the game plays at endgame, and I know. I do think the early game is pretty slow. I mean, it
can be.
Abilities.
It can be, yeah.
But there's another reason why this has to tie in is there's a subset of the community right now asking the devs, because what they saw in the PvP changes, they want the combat to be dumbed down even more. And this is the reason why I'm calling in.
Wow.
I'm saying this. They want the combat to be dumbed down to an extent where you're pressing one button. They want consolidated combos in PvE.
Okay? What?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's not real.
Yes.
No, that is real.
Oh my god.
There is a forum post right now. There's a forum post on the official forums. And this is why it's not good to cater to casuals, okay? Because first of all, if you want to press one button for a combo, go play Blade and Soul or go play ESO. If you want less buttons, their argument is well, there's too many abilities. I get that. There's a lot of abilities, but if you want less abilities on a 2.5 second global cooldown combat system, it's just stupid. You're just asking for entirely brain dead combat. Okay.
Yeah.
These are players that play Summoner, they play Bard, and they're asking, look, I don't play Dragoon and Monk because I have to do these so many combos and blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? You're going to entirely butcher jobs like Monk is going to be totally destroyed.
Hey, you'll neuter it.
Yeah, there's perfect balance is going to be destroyed. There's no option to switch between, what is that? The rear punch and twin snakes or something, the flank punch, because you have to switch stances. And what I'm trying to say is basically, first of all, the number one issue why a lot of people don't play 14 is the combat. I can guarantee that. You can do a survey. Like, if there's a survey out there, I guarantee the number one reason was the combat's too slow. Okay, and I couldn't get into it.
I cannot believe that.
Yeah,
that blows my mind.
I mean, he's not wrong. The combat compared to everything else is definitely really slow.
I mean, my only other frame of reference is FF11, and when you talk about slow combat, Jesus.
Well, yeah, obviously Final Fantasy 11 is even slower than 14 somehow, but
I
no,
mean,
like
11, I feel like there are other MMOs out there that are similar. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like 14 is enough with the off global cooldown moves. There's never a moment that you shouldn't be clicking a button. And if that is too slow for you, what the fuck do you want?
Yeah.
Like, if you are literally pushing a button every second of what you're playing, how much faster do you want to go?
That's World of Warcraft's Rogue. They have a 1 second global cooldown.
Can't you get it lower with haste?
Oh yeah.
Well, no.
Yeah, probably.
The global cooldown in World of Warcraft, as far as I know, is 1 second all across the board.
It's 1.5, but you can lower it down to 1 second.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't know, because I know some, like, you still have casting times on, like, a shaman or something, right?
Yeah.
Like an elemental shaman.
Right.
But the thing is, like, that was my biggest fear of the changes for Stormblood. Personally, I think a lot of the changes, what they're doing is actually good. I think the gauges are good. I think them, you help people. The problem with the noobs was they couldn't keep track of the timers of whatever, Huton or Astral Fire or whatever. So you give them a bigger visual cue. That's fine. I'm okay with that.
Right.
But when you start catering to the casuals who are asking for to completely butcher a job just on the excuse of there's too many buttons, like, that is the whole thing for melee DPS, is to do finger gymnastics while you're doing mechanics and stuff.
I think it's you bring up a really interesting point that I want to hang on here for just a second, and that is that when you end up dumbing down your combat, I think that you end up really having this exchange that goes on where the people who have invested themselves in a long-term fashion, Joe or whoever else, that when they see that become inherently inherently demotivated to continue pushing the game forward in the same way that he had been, right? Like, I think Joe's a perfect example of this, because here's someone who has so tightly focused on PvP and exposing PvP and getting as many people into it as he possibly could, and then to have these changes, like, God bless Joe for his fucking optimism, because if I was in his position, all I would be able to see is this is emblematic of the way that Square-Enix is going to continue to develop their content, and this is going to be a problem, because making things dumber and making things easier doesn't benefit the people who have, like, we all sit around, we all identified that ability bloat was a problem. We all identified that Steps of Faith was a challenge. But no one on this show, very few people actually went the extra logical step to say, well, we've got to make it easier, right? That's a fairly localized minority that takes a piece of truth, a kernel of truth. Steps of Faith is hard, and then blows it up into, well, then that means that Square Enix is contingent on responding, and they need to make it easier. That's the part. That's the part that I don't. That's the disconnect for me, where I don't understand how people can get that entitled, and how subsequently a company like Square Enix can start listening to that frame, that line of logic and go, that makes sense. I see what this person is saying. Like, at some point this should have been openly rejected and gone, you know what, these people are fucking whining about nothing.
Well, yeah, like the main thing that I'm saying, like, first I want to say that PvP as it is now, I believe there is too many abilities. I think it's just too much. Right,
like, ability bloat is a real thing. That's legit.
But they went in the opposite direction, and they've consolidated it to, like, I understand they put in a lot of off globals or whatever in PvP, but gutting combos, like that's the reason why there's a 2.5 second global cooldown. Okay, the reason why this game has a complex rotation is because it's easier to do when you have a slower global cooldown. You just have to learn it, okay? The one thing we all have to learn, the community, the devs, the community especially, because don't go harassing a noob to get better, because they're going to go cry to the devs to say, we need to make the game easier because I'm getting harassed because I suck. So make the game easier and then I won't get harassed. That's not how it works. You're just going to ruin the game. So the community needs to understand, look, there's always going to be bad players, okay?
Right.
There's always going to be bad players, and just accept it.
Right. And again, I think, the response does not need to be contingent on Square Enix. Square Enix is not responsible for fucking harassment, okay? They're not responsible for the way that people interact on the game. All they're responsible for is making a game that people find fun. I'm not even going to say balanced, right? Because balance is a pretty subjective. Yeah, it's pretty subjective. But what I'm saying is that their primary goal is to make a game that is fun. And no, go ahead.
Oh, well, like for instance, the meta, like the people who stream metagame, like Monk and Paladin are shit. We don't want Monk and Paladin. They try and blow things out of proportion, like. If people want to play Monk or Paladin because they think it's a fun job, then let them fucking play it. You know what I mean? Like, it may do less DPS in the long run, but guess what? You don't need to min-max that much just to be able to clear a raid. Sure, World First is a different thing.
You don't have to. I mean, I can tell you my group has been running Paladin, Dark Knight, Monk, like no ninja, like forever. And we clear the shit just fine. Like that's the one thing that I have liked about 14 is the ability to mix and match things and not having to, which is why when the meta starts shifting and creates the disparity between jobs, you really have to, I don't know. It's a hard balance because there are still ways to make it work.
But they're not talking about, Nika, they're not talking about the disparity between jobs. That when they talk about disparity, when disparity was brought up on this entire fucking live letter, right? It was about new versus veteran. It was about bad versus good. Right? We're not talking about the disparity between Monk and Dragoon and the way that you can get different DPS off of them. That was only a footnote in these patch notes. What they are talking about is they're talking about the disparity between skills, between how much skill or how much application any one person wants to put onto learning or getting better or improving themselves at FF14. And I'm going to tell you right now that my assessment that this is lazy is not just based off of things in FF14. My assessment that this is lazy is based off of life. Because if you're willing to look for shortcuts in your online fucking video game, guess what? You're probably likely to look for shortcuts in real life. And I think that is inherent weakness. I think that is people just excusing their own weakness and excusing themselves from having to try to improve themselves or improve their attitude, improve whatever it is that they don't like about themselves. They're willing to sit in shit continuously and be unhappy than they are to fucking, actually like doing something about their own unhappiness. And that, and again, when you look at, I think that Square Enix is just kind of echoing that whole fucking thing. It's frustrating.
Yeah, like another thing I was going to say is that a lot of these casuals, they use the excuse of, well, I pay a subscription fee, so if they don't do this, then I'm just going to quit, and then they lose my sub. Well, guess what? I pay a sub too, idiot. And if they do this stuff, it's going to ruin the game for me, and I'll quit. So, like, that argument is entirely invalid. And another thing is, like, I mean, the main thing that I'm trying to come across here is if you go out of your way to cater to the casuals so much, you're just going, like, WoW can do it because they just have a shit ton of subs.
Exactly. They can absorb it.
Yeah, they'll be able to bear the brunt of that many subs being lost.
Thank you, yes.
But 14 cannot handle it, okay? Yep. Nobody wants to sit there and press 1111 and occasionally an off global cooldown every 2.5 seconds. Nobody wants to do that, I can guarantee you. The reason why they do it in PvP is because there's more things to think. They did it in PvP is because there's more things to think about during PvP, right? So people, their brains explode because they can't figure out PvP because it's too random. It's not a scripted fight, okay? But leave it out of PvE. I just want to snuff this idea out because you're thinking it's good for the game to get rid of ability bloat by consolidating combos, but you're just, in the long run, you're ruining the game. You are. I mean, unless the global cooldown comes down to like 1 second or 0.5 seconds, like Blade and Soul has, then there's no point in pressing 111 over again. It's just, there's no sense in it.
Yeah. No, I think that that is absolutely right, Shinjima. Thank you very much for the call. We appreciate it. We've gone overtime quite a bit here today, and there was a lot. You know what? There was a lot of callers. We started like 20 minutes late though, so we're about on time. Okay, that's fair. We've had a lot of callers today, and I want to thank everyone for their calls and joining in on this discussion. It's an important discussion. I'm going to guess that we're probably going to just continue on with your reactions next week. It seems like there's a lot. A lot of people have. They feel some kind of way about this, and and I saw somebody point this out in the chat earlier that when people are dissatisfied, they're much more likely to be vocal, and that's true. And we want to give you an opportunity to express how you feel about these changes here on the show. This is a dialogue. It's a conversation, and you may not like what I have to say, but I think that it's difficult to not acknowledge that there is at least a kernel of truth to all of my criticisms. Joe and I went toe to toe the entire fucking time, and it may just be down to a difference of opinion, and that's fine. Like I don't feel any differently about Joe than I did before we took his call, but I think that Square-Enix should be worried because in the end they're the ones that do have to bear the brunt of these costs. They're the ones that do they've got a major stake in this. Like FF14 turns to shit, we lose a game that we like playing, but Square-Enix loses a major investment.
I play Monk.
Thanks, Decibels.
Thanks.
Great. Thank you.
Really?
I really feel like I should time you out for that.
Important addition.
You know what? Yeah, I'm going to time you out for that.
Okay.
There you go, you stupid idiot.
Boy, Nika must be really worked up about something because I can hear her typing furiously in the background.
Someone thinks there should be a toggle button for the consolidated moves. You can use it if you want to, don't if you don't want to.
Seriously, why the fuck? This game is so easy
That would end up creating what I was just replying to. Is that would end up creating a system where the person with the one button combo gets it perfectly every time, whereas the person who's actually creating the strategy would get lower DPS, and that would be horrible for you.
And so you would basically be you would be handicapping yourself. That's the thing, is that as players we always look for the most efficient way to be able to pump out the most whatever. Like if it's damage or healing or whatever, like we look for the ways to maximize our efficiency. And guess what? If you have an option in the game that makes you less efficient at the cost of having an increased skill, there is a fraction of a percent that is going to take you up on that. Sorry, that's just human nature.
Okay, there's already a 1-1-1-1-1-1-1 combo in the game. It's called Leveling Dragoon. And you know what? That is literally...
Dragoon doesn't have 1-1 combo.
Leveling Dragoon. There is a point in their leveling process where they just use, forward thrust or something? Something where it's like 180 potency, 180 damage, and 180 healing. And then they just use 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 180 healing. And from a side or a back or something, and that's it. Like there's no combo, there's nothing after that. But that's
What
like
are you talking about? Dragoon is the most complicated. It is
Nico, listen to me. When you're leveling
at a certain level
level.
cap.
Oh, okay.
At like Tam Tower or something, you just literally press 1 1 1 1 1.
What's a monk?
Thanks
a
for that,
miserable
Neo.
pile of secrets. Impulse Drive, that's the one. You literally want to go back to leveling Impulse Drive Dragoon. That is what you stupid idiots are asking for. I'm literally calling you morons for wanting that.
Yeah, see, this is why priority rotations are better, because then you can't just consolidate everything into one button. You have to decide what's better to get this buff back up to make sure that this debuff remains. Priority rotation is better than just a straight up rotation.
God, there's so many other points that we haven't even gotten to yet.
Clearly 4-hour Limit Break Radio right now.
Dude,
just kidding.
I'm dying, man. It's so hot. It's so hot in the studio.
The boy butter from Chris is like palpable in the air, guys.
I can smell it over
like,
here.
Stick your
It's
tongue
solidifying.
out. I dare you to stick your tongue
No.
out. Just let it cling.
Nope. No, I don't need that. You know what that tastes like. I don't need to.
No.
You can know. You can know for the both of us.
No.
All right.
Want to do a shot off me again?
Stop it.
Kahlo?
Stop.
I want to just do shots. Like after this episode, I just not off of you,
Shot
but I just
of-
want shots. That's all. That's all.
Just endless amounts of shots.
Of alcohol. Otherwise, this guy's going to break out the hot mustard sauce.
Okay, well, we have to make sure only like the shots are just like one shot. Like you can't do like a combo of shots, just one shot. 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1. Because that's how we do things now in Final Fantasy 14. Because this game is too hard, apparently, to have a combo system.
Morgan Freeman goes 4-hour live letter, 4-hour show. Except, did you notice that they took 2 breaks?
Yeah, those assholes took 2 breaks.
Those you weak.
Not
weak
to mention
company. You.
Fanfic.
We're going to be back next week
God
with
damn it.
more live letter talk, so that counts. We're just taking a week break.
I see a lot of requests for fanfic.
All right, I got a fanfic. I'm going to
we
read
do
the
a fanfic?
fanfic, and then we're going to go out. All right.
All right. Yes, we need a palate cleanser.
All right.
So yeah,
All
make it happen.
Do we have music? Can you
Of
find
course,
music?
I have
All right.
music.
Can you play it?
Why would we do this and I wouldn't have music?
Play with the music.
You know that it takes a minute for the music to start,
here we
right?
No.
This story starts with the free company of Limit Break Radio at an annual gathering of adventurers at the far-off land of Las Vegas, the City of Sin. Nika Kianian was waiting patiently for her target to be alone. After watching the Hyrule skillfully deep throat, she was eager to get her hands on him.
No.
Skuro, adventurer, lover, fighter, and career whipping boy, intern of the free company, was downing drinks like a champion.
See, they got this wrong. I'm not in the LBRFC, so
The
that's what happened.
tavern's happy hour.
I automatically don't believe this because I don't think he can down drinks like a champion.
Maybe drinks is
We
a
know for
metaphor
a fact
for
that
something.
he can't.
He wasn't pre-gaming, you see.
Oh, okay.
The tavern's happy hour was his moment. To him, he thought to himself, my time has come. My time is now. This is my moment to shine. 4 drinks later and the rest had forgotten he existed. A usual occurrence. Nika kept her eyes on him, waiting for her moment. And once the chance presented itself, she leapt at the chance. Activating sprint, she grabbed the passed-out machinist in her muscular arms. As a Rogadin, her build enabled a swift pickup of the Hyrule.
Of course.
Yes, tonight she was going to enjoy this. Switching her job crystal to warrior, she activated Holmgang. Tying his arms behind his back with the chains, she positioned him spread eagle. With a few quick strokes, she had him standing full mast.
How does the music know? Every time! How does the music know?
Because it is scientifically orchestrated. Removing her armor and making sure to keep her Moogle slippers on, she ran her fingers down his beer gut. Not her usual preference, but his inability to fight back made her primed to take her place as top row of the free company.
Me want snoo.
Reaching down, she grabs a hold of his rook turret. Gently at first.
I'm sorry. I have to stop. No, stop.
She leaned closer to whisper in his ear. Low on TP, activate promotion. In his drunken haze, he complies, making his turret switch from attack to support. This pleases the Rogadin female. Her tactical points were ready. He was ready. And now she was going to claim her prize. Climbing atop him, she brings her arm back and brings a sharp slap towards his jaw, awakening him with a start. This was all she needed. He needed to know he was being tanked. Otherwise,
here. Okay, he is.
Otherwise,
that actually made my skin crawl. That put it over the line for me. That's a weird line. I didn't know I didn't know that was my line.
Otherwise,
you learn something new about yourself every day.
Otherwise, all the hard work telling the tavern staff not to stop his drinks would be for naught.
Oh God,
Nika, what the? Oh God, he
also
whimpered
not
off.
canon because I don't drink and I wouldn't force drinks on anyone else. Totally.
Finally aware of his position. As she forced him deep inside her, she let out an overly cute moan, which did not match her manly physique.
I don't have cute moans.
Threw up in my mouth a little bit.
Part of him wanted to smirk, but the other part realized there was no way his pelvis was going to survive this onslaught. As a warrior, her capacity for hard, fast strikes was something to fear. He tried to struggle, but doing so just made him bury deeper inside of her. He was trying to escape the brutal swinging of her hips.
This is awful.
He searched his mind for a way out of this. Then he remembered he'd been firing Marlboro tentacles earlier. Oh God. This could be his chance to launch a distraction, giving him a chance to escape. Using his fingers to unclip his bag, he stretched his fingertips to grab the stack of tentacles. Activating his use command, he instantly regretted this plan.
Good.
The tentacles moved swiftly. They grabbed them both roughly.
Oh my God, why?
The loose tentacles grabbed at them, gently flicking, roughly probing deep into both of them. Unable to fight off the tentacles, probed into Nika's mouth and any available
God, I am sick. This is not what I did.
Whoa. This took a turn.
Nika moaned in pleasure and Skrull screamed in terror. He was being undone by his own plan.
Stupid now, bitch!
They were now being brought to the edge of climax as the tentacles started to speed up. Skrull started to lose consciousness. He noticed Nika seemed to be enjoying the whole situation. Well, he thought to himself, I suppose it could have been worse, as he seed sprayed all over her and swiftly passed out. Nika slumped to the ground, panting heavily. She had not planned to use those so soon, but now she was free. She could continue ahead with her plans. She had around 30 minutes till they came to look for her and the drunken Skrull. She reached into her armory chest and pulled out Juxta's action figure. He'll not even know what was missing, she smiled as she hoisted his hips up. Time for savage mode, she smiled. Later.
Wow, this is even better than I imagined.
I think we just found the title of this episode. It's Savage Time.
Later, the rest found Skrull out cold. They had assumed he was drunk, Nika having placed him back in the lobby of the venue. Looked refreshed. She had a good drop from that raid. P.S. Dear Aniero, please have Nika read this, and if she refuses, Skrull. Oh, you have to put that at the beginning of it, man.
Yeah.
But wow.
Wow.
Seen a grown man naked?
Jesus.
That's now canon. That's what actually happened to Skrull.
No, none of that is anywhere close to canon.
That's the right reaction, Juxta.
Oh my gosh.
Although I do like Time for Savage Mode as the title.
Time for Savage Mode. Yeah, that's absolutely the name of this episode.
God, I love the comments. I've seen enough hentai to know where this is going.
Worth it.
You guys wanted it, so there you go.
Yep, you've been begging for fanfics for how long has it been since we've read one?
It's been a while. It has been a while. Yeah.
Wow.
All right.
Thank you, Giraffe Lady.
Well, we did it, guys. We got to the end of this episode. Although I don't.
Are you sure?
I don't think. Yeah, nothing has been resolved. No one feels any better.
No.
Everyone gets to just hold. Everyone
we had a good discussion, and I have some kind of optimism. Maybe. I do, sort of. That's it.
It's almost adorably naive. But anyway, all right. Well, yeah. I wish we had something a little bit more optimistic to leave you guys with this week, but we
Patreon donors will get their shit. I send it out.
Oh, yeah.
I do apologize. Can I just say that? I do apologize. There was an error in our spreadsheet. It has been fixed. All but one package has gone out because that's my stupidity, and I forgot the customs form.
Ah, okay.
So everybody's getting their stuff.
So if you're still waiting for items from donating to the Patreon,
I am sorry.
No, it's all right, man. You've taken 3 months off, so there's only so much that we can reasonably expect you to be able to do.
Get back to work, slave.
There you go. All right, guys. That's going to do it here for Limit Break Radio for this week. Tune in next week. We'll I don't know what the plan is as we kind of get a lot closer to E3. We're going to have to, at some point, there's going to be a week off from Limit Break Radio that we're going to have to maybe throw in there somewhere. I don't know. It's right around Stormblood's release. Maybe we'll try to push ourselves. We don't really know. We don't know what the next couple of weeks are going to look like. I think definitely next week we can continue on our Stormblood conversation, and we want to encourage more of you guys to call in and continue to express your feelings, whatever they are, whether you agree with us, whether you don't, whether you're hyped. And again, I think that the hyped people need to be very vocal right now and try to take some of us who are less hyped into the hyped category. And that just, I don't know how reasonable that expectation is, but I mean, just, think whatever you're going to think. Don't let my opinion sway you. If you're hyped for this game, if you're hyped for this expansion, don't let my opinion sway you. Unless I put forth a good argument, but just because I'm saying it doesn't mean that it's necessarily a good idea. I'm totally willing.
Yes, we know that.
I know, but the thing is that there are people out there in the audience, and we've seen them pipe up more than a few times. Is that, look, man, you feel like you're always driven by a need to be right. Why can't you just admit that sometimes you're wrong about shit? And I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong.
I think people miss that. You say that. We say that a lot. That when we get all pessimistic, we want to be wrong.
Yeah, and the thing is I want to be pleasantly surprised, and I still have that ability is still there, right? Okay, because when you get your hands on Stormblood, who knows? Maybe the battle system changes will be such an offset that it makes the game feel so much better. I don't know. We can only judge what we're given right now, and until we get the actual product, we're not going to know. But, I really, really hope that all of the things that I'm saying are eventually going to be proven wrong, or that these ideas that I disagree with will end up moving in a different direction where I'm like, okay, I couldn't predict that. Like, you guys, you made the right decision because you knew where you were going long term.
We couldn't predict that we're going to have one button combos in 5.0.
But again, like all of this pessimistic shit, dude, we want to be wrong. We don't want to be right about this. Who wants to be right about that shit?
We want to be happy about 14.
The problem is that it's fucking accurate. Like there's truth to it, man. And fuck, that's why 500 people have been listening today to this conversation and not checking it out and fucking off to some other channel. I'm just going to mention that. Because I'm sorry, like, fucking be honest with the way that you feel. That's all. All right. That's it for Limit Break Radio. God damn, this was a big episode.
I'm a girl, I like dicks.
Nika, can you relax for just one moment? We're trying to close out the show.
Thank you. I know. I can't help myself.
I mean, it's a valid opinion, Nika. I just don't know. What does that have to do with right now?
For just a moment, I forgot that was a drop, and I was literally like, Nika, what the fuck?
You think I can scream like that right now with my voice the way it is? No way. No way.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening to Limit Break Radio.
I'm a girl, I like dicks. Thank you. Thank you.
Never gonna get old.
God. Jesus. Settle down.
Are you mental?
Anyway, thanks, guys, so much for tuning in for Limit Break Radio this week. Tune in next week, 4 p.m. We'll be here with something. I don't know what it's going to be just yet, but we'll be here starting at 4 p.m. Stay tuned. Guys, stick around. I want to see at least a couple hundred of you sticking around for what's coming up next. We're going to be airing the most recent episode of Checkpoint Radio. So stick around. That's coming up in just a few minutes as we wrap up the show here on Limit Break Radio. I want to thank everyone who called in today and expressed their opinion, whether you agreed with me or not. I think that this has been a valuable discussion, and I think that the discussion has to continue. It continues now all the way up until the release of Stormblood, when we have some kind of tangible ability to be able to judge whether this is the right direction or the wrong direction for this game to go in. But we want to encourage you to share your opinions, to share your voice, use your voice here on the show, and call the show. So we want to encourage everyone to continue to call, listen live, starting at 4 p.m. here on twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio. I want to thank my crew. Today we had Papa Woody. Papa, it was so good having you back.
It's good to be here.
You didn't say much, but that's okay.
It's still fun.
You never do. But it was good to have you here. We're glad
to get your guys' drinks.
Yeah, hey, we're glad to have you back and to have you getting us drinks. I also want to thank the other pieces of crew that we have scattered around the various parts of the globe. Skuro, who does all of the YouTube shit. Kooky, who's been taking care of the phone lines. And, of course, my on-air hosting crew, Juxtaposition, Escali Arayamasa, even though he had to call in sick, Kyle Landis, Nika Kyanian, I'm Aniero. Keep listening. Limit Break Radio is a production of LimitBreakRadio.com and Bender Media Productions. This episode was produced by Aniero Grigori, Kalo Landis, and Kooky Persona. Final Fantasy XIV and Eorzea are trademarks of Square-Enix. Funding for Limit Break Radio is provided by Miri Kennett, Satori Komeji, Dark Flux, Null Packet, Shira Heartslot, and fellow Limit Break Radio listeners. To support Limit Break Radio, visit patreon.com/Limit Break Radio. Opening music in this episode from Daniel Lambie. Listen to Man with the Machine Gun and other great tracks at facebook.com/Daniel Lambie Metal Gamer. Closing music in this episode provided by Husky by the Geek. Listen to this and other great Final Fantasy XIV and video game rock covers and original music at facebook.com/Husky by the Geek. In-game graphics for Limit Break Radio's Twitch stream are provided by Diamond Multimedia. Check out their line of AMD graphics cards and other hardware at diamondmm.com. Limit Break Radio and its hosts are solely responsible for its content.